Thursday night Krug show. Dieter in the house, one of our favorite streams of the week. Massive surprise comeback by the Pacers in game one of the NBA Finals. A lot of Niners OTAs to get to. Let's go. Welcome aboard. Brought to you by the Pig in a Pickle Krug show. Brought to you by Pig in a Pickle. All right, we're off and running Thursday night. Krug show. Dieter's in the house on a Thursday. Good to see him. Good to see all of you. NBA Finals. Wild night in the NBA Finals. But we're, of course, talking Niners. We're going to get into the Niners that have impressed us. Both of us spent time in Santa Clara watching OTA football. What does that mean? It means that Dieter's got two kids that aren't getting love. And I got four kids. And two of them moved out. So now we are both abusing our two children to cover.
Careful. This is streamed.
to cover.
There's a reason we do this at 9:15. It's so that the kids are asleep. And also, like, OTAs are during the day. So,
That's
like,
true.
one of them's hanging out with mom, and I'm screwed when that stops, and thank goodness for maternity leave, and the other one's at daycare. They're fine. They're fine. But yeah, ultimately, my mind is on CJ West, not them.
Dieter's got babies. I've got teenagers. Dieter's kids look at him as a god. My kids look at me as, what in the heck happened to me? Why did I get born into this family?
Yeah.
But we're off and running. And we got a lot to get to. It's funny, Raj, who I do a stream with on Tuesdays, and I have a wager on the finals, and I took OKC. He took Indiana and Halliburton. And wow, Raj is feeling good right now because OKC was a big on the verge of putting it away, really putting it away, 20-point win at home in game one. And then all of a sudden, it was amazing. Toppin hit some threes. They just kind of hit a bunch of shots. Neesmith is a good shooter. He's always been a good shooter. If you leave him open, he will knock it down. I mean, from almost anywhere. Yeah. He's that good of a shooter. So, good win, and it makes this series a lot more interesting because OKC's favored. I still think OKC's, they're young. I don't think they're going to be rocked back in their heels. I think they're going to show their poise. If I had to predict, I'll say OKC shows poise, figures out a way to win this series, but it probably goes 7. Yeah, that would be my prediction.
That's
I'll
a good
take
prediction because they kind of had the same thing happen to them. OKC did in that second round series against Denver where they lose game one, and that series went 7. It's why it was hilarious, and I understand why it was happening, but there was just such a frothiness to Oklahoma City making the finals and unquestionably the favorites, right? Big, really prohibitive favorites, all things considered, because they won 68 games in the regular season, and a lot of the things that they do well is like a devilish matchup for Indiana. And so I totally understood why everyone was in on OKC. I was in on OKC. I thought they were going to win it in 5. I do not hold that opinion anymore after game 1. But the sort of dynasty in the making nonsense that I was hearing, glad that looks stupid after a day. That lasted one day before it looks idiotic for people to be saying, are they the next dynasty in the NBA? Last year it was supposed to be the Celtics are the next dynasty, and we're entering the Jokic era, and before, no. Dynasties are almost impossible in the modern NBA, and Oklahoma City has not won a finals game ever. Did they get swept by Miami way back in the day with Durant and Harden and Westbrook?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think they have never won an NBA Finals game, so maybe we cool it on calling them a dynasty. They're young, they're exciting, they probably win this thing. But dynasty, okay. Let me see them do it twice.
It was a great win by Indiana. I mean, it's funny. Oklahoma City won 68 games in the regular season. Indiana won 50. By the way, we're talking about a game, and we haven't said who won. If you don't know and you didn't watch the game, Indiana Pacers win game 1 of the NBA Finals, 111 to 110.
Larry, they led for a total of 0.3 seconds.
Well, I was going to say OKC won the first quarter 29-20. They won the second quarter 28-25, so they had a real comfortable lead in the first half. The third quarter was basically a push. Indiana won it 31-28. Fourth quarter at home, and you get outscored on your home floor 35-25. And this is a Thunder team that was 35-5 at home this year against a Pacers team that was a 500 team on the road. I mean, this was an unbelievable. If Oklahoma City winds up losing the series, they'll be talking about tonight's game for the next until Oklahoma City wins a championship. Because wow, I mean that is. Totally. I don't want to say it's a gag job, but I mean, balanced scoring from Indiana. I thought Obi Toppin was big. He had 17 off the bench and hit 5 of 8 threes, and I thought. They don't win this game without his contribution. He was really good. The guy who you have to sit there and go, hey, where the hell's that guy? Mr. Gonzaga, Chet Holmgren, 6 points and 6 rebounds and not a single assist and only 1 foul. I mean, come on.
That's wild.
I mean, that's not aggressive enough. Jalen Williams, I thought, played decent. Shea had 38 and Lou Dort had 15. But that was it. I mean, it wasn't a great score. They needed some points from somebody else, and they couldn't get them. That really wasn't the defense. The offense wasn't really it, but it was just really
24 turnovers, Larry, and the other team had 6. And the team that had 24 turnovers won.
I know. It's unbelievable. Indiana turned it over 24 times.
19 times in the first half, and they won. And by the way, now we're talking about an all-time Rabbit's Foot playoff run for Indiana. They came back from a 7-point deficit with 35 seconds left against the Bucks in the first round to win a game. They came back from 7 points in the final minute against the Cavs. They came in the second round to win a game. I think it was game 2. Game 1 against the Knicks, 14 points in the final 3 minutes. It was like an insane comeback with Halliburton doing the choke, Reggie Miller style. And now this one, 9 points in the final 3 minutes. Thunder had a 96% chance of winning this game, depending on which one of those charts you look at. And again, they led for 0.3 seconds overall in the game. I mean, Oklahoma City came out. They had a 10-point lead, and the Thunder, it kind of just kept growing. That was the weirdest part. It just kept growing, and then it plateaued a little bit. And then you're looking up, and you go, oh, man, it's 12. Oh, it's 10. It's 8. It's 6. Oh, okay, now it's 3. And then Oklahoma City bounced back. What? It's just... This is what the Pacers do. They are inexplicable, and Halliburton is on an all-time run, an absolutely all-time run. To think what would have happened had the Warriors just taken him second overall, or the Kings not traded him.
Halliburton
Good job,
looks,
everybody.
Yeah, Halliburton looks great. Would you rather have Sabonis? Would you rather have Halliburton? Kings traded for Sabonis. Warriors took a Marshmallow and James Wiseman over him.
Who was about to be a 2-time champion, by the way. He's on the Pacers.
Oh wow. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think the Pacers are gonna win the series. But I'll say the bottom line on this thing is Siakam, Nesmith, and Turner just owned the defensive glass.
Totally.
I mean, those guys combined for like 30 some odd rebounds between the three of them, and Chet wasn't there, and. You look at the rebounding totals. I mean, Hartenstein had 9 in 17 minutes off the bench.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
they probably could have used more of him, and they probably will use more of him because they started Nesmith in this game. Or, I'm sorry, they started Carson Wallace in this game, who's Cason Wallace, who's a hell of a defender, but they went small. And, I mean, yeah, the wings for, like, Obi Toppin should not be as impactful a player in this series. Like, he shouldn't have the kind of impact giving you winning plays. Like, Oklahoma City is particularly built to make all of your role players suck. And they didn't. I mean, it was a very physical game, and I'll give them credit on this. Maybe the Knicks kind of got them battle tested, and certainly the Cavs were a pretty physical team. Like, the Pacers are a pretty slight team overall. They looked ready for all the punches that Oklahoma City throws, and they are heavy. Those are heavy punches. I mean, winning basketball plays, unbelievable switches on the perimeter. The block that Jay Will had in this game was insane. Like, Oklahoma City's the better team, but now they are immediately in prove-it mode, and I'm fascinated to see what it looks like because this is the big stage, even though you would never know it based on the fact that there's no NBA Finals branding anywhere at all. It's like ABC doesn't want to be broadcasting it, and the NBA doesn't want anyone to know that these are their two best teams. There's nothing. I don't want the big trophy in the middle again, but I don't know. How about the Finals written somewhere? Superimpose it. Indulge me. Let me know it's the NBA Finals. Can you imagine if the Super Bowl had no Super Bowl branding anywhere? Or if the NCAA tournament didn't let you know it was the NCAA tournament? I'm getting Michelob Ultra ads and Fantastic Four superimpositions, but I can't. The only place I can see where it's the finals is a little screen on the stanchion. Like, come on, NBA, do better. Come on, Adam Silver, get it together.
I was trying to look up what Chet makes because, I mean, my goodness.
He's still on
Chet,
a rookie deal.
I mean, has he signed his next deal yet?
And that's the other thing when we talk about dynasties too. Like SGA can sign a deal at the end of this year or at the end of next year, but because he's the MVP, he gets the super of all supermaxes. He'll make $81 million in one of his seasons in the next deal.
Yeah, Chet's only making 10-8 this year, 13-7 next year, 17-9 in the final year, and then he'll get the big money.
He's the number 2 overall pick, right? Something like that. So
he's not even making next year. He'll make $5 million less than Alex Caruso. Caruso's going to make $18 million next year.
Caruso's fucking awesome, though.
He is.
So
he looks bad with the headband, but he's
the
good.
Lakers let that guy walk for nothing.
Oh, he's a total winner. The Warriors tried to get him badly.
Oh God, they wanted him so.
They
bad.
wanted him bad. I'll tell you another guy that I loved in the draft who has established himself as a nice little player is Isaiah Joe can flat out shoot. He played for Musselman at Arkansas, and he's just got a great shot. I mean, if you can shoot the ball
for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, Philly had him. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you've got a shot like this guy's got a shot, you just get that guy. You don't. There's no team in the NBA that has enough good players on its team that they don't need a dead-eye shooter like Isaiah Joe. I mean, he's skinny, but he can flat out shoot it.
By the way,
they ought to probably feed him a few more looks, especially if Chet's not going to be an offensive player. I mean, Chet was the lottery pick. Chet was, the high pick. He's supposed to be a much better player than what he showed tonight. I mean, I know I'm beating up on Chet, but I mean, he is the star that didn't show up tonight.
It's going to be interesting because they already made the adjustment of moving Hartenstein out of the starting lineup. So they already kind of shifted some stuff. That's an adjustment that now you could have brought in for game 2. So now you're adjusting off of a series that already kind of came in on uneven footing. I'm fascinated to see how Mark Daigneault handles this. He's a great coach. These are 2 outstanding coaches, but one of them has rings on his fingers. And the other one is swimming in the deep end, honestly, for the first time. And I think this was so underreported, so under-discussed in the last round for the Pacers. Like, Rick Carlisle's won a title, and Rick Carlisle has competed for title. He has everywhere he's been, he's put together outstanding basketball team. He is an elite coach that's never talked about in that realm, and he ran circles around Tibbs. Now, I don't think that's the reason why Tibbs got fired in New York, but like
there was a lot of they had a lot of team meetings. There's a lot of volatility there.
It's a lot of stuff, but just strictly X's and O's, it was just an absolute ass kicking. And I'm interested to see if that happens again here. I think Mark Daigneault is as good as anybody. I mean, I've been saying that since even the Thunder sucked. You watch some of the stuff that he does, and you're like, "Ooh, they got it."
Great young coach. Great young coach.
They'll bounce back. He's got to prove it. I
like OKC in 7. What do you like? We'll talk Niners.
I'd say OKC in 6 because OKC's got different kinds of smoke, right? They can throw different. Like that is Indiana's best. That's as good. Indiana can maybe turn it over a little bit less, but then what are you losing on the glass? Like that felt like a full Indiana experience. That didn't feel like the full OKC experience because it was flowing for a while, but they didn't get the front court involved offensively, and that's a big aspect of their game. It was a little too SGA dependent.
Here's the $1 million question.
I'll take it.
When you get stunned with a right in a fight, and that's what this is, and you have no experience, how do you react? That's the one thing. When the Warriors occasionally got stunned, they're looking at Steve Kerr, who's won lots and lots of rings, and then Andre Iguodala and Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and at times they had, that we were talking about Kevin Durant, and we're talking about, lots of experience, and they never really they could take a shot and still not in any way be affected. Tonight wasn't just a game one loss. It was a game one loss on your home floor that you led by 15.
Yeah.
And it's one that will stay with you for more than a night. This is not another loss. This is a crushing loss. And this is a very young Thunder team. And the coach is very young. And he's not Steve Kerr, and he doesn't have pelts on the wall, and he doesn't have rings. And neither does Shea, and neither does Chet, and neither does Jalen, and neither – basically, Caruso's the veteran. Yeah. He's got the ring in the bubble. If you want. Guys, we did it this way. But I'm just saying
he's won in a lot of places. And then he was also a Bull, so it goes both ways.
So he's done a lot of losing too, and he's no. But you know what I'm saying? It's like that's the one question we don't know the answer to. We'll talk Niners here, but we don't know if tonight was just as you just stated. I think you're right. I think that's the best Indiana's got. It seems dramatic. We live in the moment. Totally. But you know what? OKC gets them in the end. I'll say 7. Sounds like you're saying 6. But go 6, there's a percentage because there is no track record of experience here. There's a chance that Chet and the Rooks and the young coach all whiz down their leg. Totally. And OKC as the favorite loses this series to 100%. Halliburton.
100%. This is game 2 is the series. Yeah. It's the series because if Indiana wins this thing, be it in 5 games or 7, whatever. If Indiana wins this, it will be in the same way that they won the last round, right? Like the Knicks never stood a shot. They got flummoxed and frazzled, and they just didn't stand a shot on the back end because they lost game 1. And they were playing from behind the entire way, and that's just enough of an advantage in a race for Indiana to take it all the way home. I do think that OKC is markedly better than Indiana, but that doesn't mean squat if you don't take advantage of your advantages.
Who's favored to win Knicks Pacers?
Knicks were. Now, Knicks are all, oh yeah, and Knicks
at the beginning?
Oh yeah. I think it was like plus 190 for the Pacers to win it.
Okay. I would have thought it would have been the Pacers because the Knicks didn't have a lot.
No, but the idea was that the Knicks could out-physical them and that the downhill stuff would hurt them. And listen, also the Knicks are a very difficult team to do with odds because they have such a vibrant fan base at that. It's kind of like the Lakers or it's kind of like the Raiders where it's just you can't get a good read on the numbers because the books have to stay level. So it's always going to be a bit juiced just by fan base. But to answer Roy's place, are you talking about my Tacoma Rainiers hat? I bought this in Tacoma.
Oh, I thought it was Rawlings. I thought maybe you were a big Rawlings fan.
No, I'm a big fan of Rainier beer, which is the Pacific Northwest's favorite cheap beer. And my father-in-law lives
cheap beer.
Rainier, yeah. I mean, it's like the Pabst Blue Ribbon of the Pacific Northwest.
Really?
Yeah, Rainier.
So it's sold in mass, and they make good money.
Yeah, it's like
but
the
it's
Hams.
Not very good.
No, it's kind of shitty. It's fucking. It's a light domestic, and there's not really a Bay Area equivalent because the local beer, and
we had Anchor
still
Steam.
make Anchor Steam, but that's
they closed it down.
Yeah, they're bringing it back. I hear.
Are they?
I was talking
to a good beer. It was a fun beer tour, by the way. If you ever,
I did it. It was fantastic.
It was
awesome. But I was talking to a local bartender here in Alameda at Lucky 13, which is an absolute gem. And anytime you're on the island, come to Lucky 13. It's like a legitimately 10 out of 10 bar.
If this were radio, that would be called Plugola, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
Plugola.
I wish I had a little bit of credit behind the bar there.
It's not radio, so he can just do that.
Yeah,
it's just called YouTube.
That's just me looking out for local businesses, Larry. I'm a hero. Yeah. And
in radio, you'd be getting a phone call right now. Your phone would be, why is this? Why does the monkey want to talk to me?
Exactly.
There you go.
Well, you just violated 14 of our contracts, so we're going to need to take that out of your paycheck.
That's right.
Regardless, I was talking to the bartender, and I'm like, man, you know what I could really go for today? Like, I could really go, and I don't go to the bar very often because, again, 2 young kids. I'm like, I could really go for an Anchor Steam. And I wish they still had Anchor Steam. And he's like, yeah, it's coming back, though. Like, so, like, I'm hoping by Christmas it's back. That would be
cool.
That'd be
that would be cool. It's a great, if anybody ever comes to San Francisco, if they bring it back, they do a tour of their brewery, and it's a relatively small brewery. It was out in the Excelsior or Bernal Heights, I believe. Yeah. And then they sit you at the bar, and you get like sit there and pound Anchor Steam. So it's a great deal.
Which you can only do about 2 before
it's a hearty beer. It's a hearty beer.
Okay, before it's good for a San Francisco night.
Before we hit Niners, what you're sitting down to watch your dream game, who's playing, what are they playing, and what are you drinking? Ooh. It's your dream game. Your dream game with your dream brew.
Okay. I am, well.
I won't say a dream date because we know you have a date. And
you mean my wife?
2 sidecars.
Yeah. But I'm dreaming, right? No. So, I'm watching.
You maintain great discipline throughout your dream, though. You maintain incredible discipline.
Straight and narrow. It's never wandered.
So, what beer? What event? What sport? What's your sport? I know. Is it Missouri football? My guess would be like Missouri football. But I'm trying to think, who's Missouri's big rival?
Well, it's Missouri. If we're really going dream scenario, it's Missouri in, I'll just say, college football playoff. I don't need to be outlandish. I think that's a reasonable ask, especially with the constant expansion. Missouri's playing in the college football playoff. By the way, I'd be there. I actually have it in my contracts that if Missouri makes the Final Four or the college football playoff, that I am automatically off. They have to. It's like
they can't work you that day.
It's a clause in my contract that I'm leaving, and there's nothing they can do about it. And I often then say, "Don't worry, this will never happen." But it has to be in there. I've had it in every contract I've ever written. It is a very strange clause. No one has fought me yet. But Missouri football, and it's Pliny the Younger.
Ooh, not Pliny the Elder. You're going the other way. Pliny the Younger.
I want the rare earth. I want the goodest of the good stuff. I want that triple IPA because I can get. I remember when I first moved to San Francisco, I thought it was so cool and fantastic that I could get Pliny the Elder, like at the Whole Foods. Like, wow, like I'm really making it. And now it's on tap
for $7.
Yeah, well, I don't care. It's so good. And fucking Pabst is $6. I'm gonna take the good one. But now, it's at the bar down the street. It's over here. Like, it's when you can get the super rare, the Younger. That is unbelievable. And like you're drunk for a month. It's so good. So that's what I'm drinking.
I like it. I'd probably go Pliny the Elder, and I'd probably say I want to sit right behind the dugout for Game 7 of the 2014 World Series.
You're picking a specific game. See, my issue is that I'd be
sitting there drinking Pliny the Elders, watching Bumgarner just mow them on the road.
Thank God you're in 2014 7. Because Pliny,
that was a great night.
The beers at Oracle Park, as I can attest to today. I went as a member of the media, but I take a look at the concession boards on my walk around the ballpark.
Right.
And they must take us as fools, my friend. That's all I can say about that. The concession stand right outside where the Warriors...
For what they charge, you mean?
Oh, my God. It's like, dude, like I would rather smuggle this in my rectum than pay you that. Like,
you're talking to a guy who right now, as we speak, has 2 beers on layaway at the Chase Center. So I'm paying it off right now. Yeah. I'm going to be getting it next year, but... I'm doing it on layaway, and I'm bringing back layaway, and why not?
It's $23 for a Pliny at Chase Center. I'm not kidding. It's $23. It went up $2.
I bought 3 tall boys at the Chase Center for Warriors game this year. It was like $55.
Yeah,
for 3 tall boys.
This is why pre-gaming, an old pastime of college, where you were so poor you had to drink all of your beer before you went to the bar. This is why it needs to come back. Thank you, San Francisco.
Right, exactly. Anyway,
The cost of living crisis. I can't get drunk at a sporting event.
we are 24 minutes into the stream, and we are brought to you by Mancini Sleep World, and we haven't really didn't even shout out the sponsors. We're also brought to you by Pig and a Pickle. This is the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. It's a great barbecue spot. Damon and Mary, the owners, they've been the title sponsor of the Krug Show since the beginning. They're awesome. And they've got a great restaurant. You know, we talk it up a lot, and I get all kinds of people who mention it to me, but it really is amazing barbecue. So go check it out. The brisket's awesome. The brisket chili's amazing. But Damon does incredible stuff. All of a sudden, he'll be like, hey, you know what? Like, I was there one day, and he's like, yeah, you know, we just decided to come up with these homemade chicken pot pies.
Mm.
Dude, with these little biscuits in there. Oh, my God. It was incredible. Incredible chicken pot pies with the barbecued chicken. Oh, it's amazing. It's all diced up, and it's in the great sauce, the carrots and the celery or whatever it is. It's just in that sauce and the pastry top. It was just amazing. Amazing.
That's awesome.
So Damon's an amazing cook. So Pig and a Pickle. If you've checked it out, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you need to, and please do. We're also brought to you by Mancini's Sleep World. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Mancini's. They have their huge Memorial Day sale live now through June the 9th. That's right. Memorial Day has ended, but the sale goes on. And you can save up to $1,200 on select adjustable mattress sets. Plus, they're throwing an extra 10% off with your promo code of Krug10. And it's all, of course, their mattresses are awesome. Mancini Sleep World, best price guarantee, 365-night comfort guarantee, free next day delivery. If you've been thinking about upgrading your bed, now is the time. Just jump on it before June the 9th. Make sure you use the code Krug10 at checkout at any of Mancini's locations or online at sleepworld.com. Saving an extra 10% just because you're a fan of the show, Krug10. At checkout. So thanks to Mancini's for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, Dieter's here. We want to talk Niners. We were both at minicamp. What did you think? What stood out to you? Have you written a recap of it? Have you put anything out there yet? What are you fired up about coming out of the OTAs? Are you fired up?
I'll give you three things. This is dealer's choice here. We can talk offensive line, we can talk overall size, or we can talk roster depth. What fascinates you, Larry?
Let's talk offensive line.
Okay.
Football begins with the offensive line. It's the one. Jim Harbaugh said it. He's totally right. It's the one spot. It's the one position group that literally is not reliant upon any other for its success. So it all the beginning of football starts with your offensive line, and the Niners' offensive line is an enigma, and it's an awesome topic because over here the fans are pissed. And are like draft guys and what the heck. And you know the interesting thing? The Niners never drafted offensive linemen in the first round, hardly ever, right?
Right.
But they won Super Bowls. And if you win that game, you can kind of say, hey, this is the way we do it and puff out your chest. When you lose that game, people take fault with your approach. And that's really what's going on here. The Niners still don't believe in investing big draft capital in offensive linemen.
Right.
Their argument is that it's like it's a cyclical type thing where you invest in young O-linemen at the top of the first round. They're really raw, but because of the investment, you play them. And then when they don't succeed right away, you're back in the top of the draft and you're drafting more offensive linemen. And it takes 3-4 years to develop an offensive lineman sometimes, or usually.
It's getting worse.
Sometimes you have Dom Pooney, but sometimes it takes time. So Niners offensive line. PFF says Brendel's not good, but like 24th out of 32. Chris Forster says he's the best center that this regime has had, blah, blah, blah. Why don't we start there? Well, what's going on at center? In your mind, is Chris Forster's a nice guy, and he's a good coach. He's a competent guy. It's not like he's some old guy sleeping. He's not asleep at the switch. He's a really bright, engaged, intense guy who does everything that he does for a reason. Yes. So before we get into this conversation, because invariably, you know the way this thing goes. the chat is like, Forster's a fool, and it's like, okay, so let's clear that one out of the room. He's not a fool. And I would tell you if he was. You guys know that. Yeah. I would absolutely tell you if I thought this guy was some jackal, just terrible, I'd be like, hey, this guy's stealing money. No, he's not. Way. He's a good football coach. So let's start
it's
right
Jeff
there.
Stoutland, and it might be Chris Forster number 2. And his reputation around the league is near impeccable. Now, he's had some personal issues in the past and all these things. But when you talk about offensive line coaches and the best in the game, his name comes up in those conversations regardless of if I'm talking 49ers or not. So, and by the way, the 49ers could not be more all in on a position coach. Not even Chris Kusarek has this much power when it comes to buying in. Their entire plan for the 49ers on offensive line is effectively Chris Forster. And you give him chicken shit and he'll turn it into something close to chicken salad. It will at least be edible. Give him enough and he'll give you more than enough to be good enough. And that's their plan. As for center, first off, I think Brendel just looks better in the lower half in these limited drills, right? We don't know until we really see these guys in pads and they're able to make full contact. But I remember him looking really just not explosive at this time last year. And his lower half looked beat up and slow and bruised and tired. And I thought he had some really good pop in some of these drills. And that matters to me. As it pertains to the Chris Forster saying he's the best center we've had graded out, this is why it's so dangerous to try to quantify offensive line play. You and I both agree, I think everybody who watched the season, no one thinks that Jake Brendel had a good year. No one's looking at that and saying, oh yeah, more of that, please. He sucked in pass protection. He had no anchor. It got better as it went on, but he had no anchor whatsoever, and he looked slow in the run game, particularly early in the season. But this is a guy who also is handling all the protections. This is a guy who, as a center, has a lot more responsibility than most centers in terms of movement in the run game and, getting to guys' shoulders and hitting that 4-eye as everybody shifts to the left or shifts to the right. It's very difficult to discern if he did a good job or not on a play in the run game in particular if you don't actually know the play call, because that's going to define what it is he should do. And sometimes he does what he should do, and it doesn't look impressive or even competent, but he did what he was supposed to do. And it's on the next guy to get to the second level, and he doesn't get off of that block and go to the next guy. And so it looks like Brendel got beat. Now, pass protection, pretty cut and dry most of the time. Tougher with centers because of obviously stunts and things like that. It surprised me big time that he said that Brendel graded out very highly, but it doesn't surprise me in the sense that they view Brendel in a much better light than we do on the outside because, again, they know the responsibilities and all of the extra stuff that's put on Brendel. And I think that they saw somebody who did get better as the season went on, and they're willing to bet on that with a long off season to give 1 or 2 more good years. But this is where the Chris Forster of it all comes in. I don't think Drake Nugent's ever going to play for the 49ers, but worst case scenario, right? Maybe Brendel does just in fact suck, and no one can deny it anymore, and it doesn't matter how well Chris Forster has him graded out. He's a liability, and they got to get rid of him. Well, you can put Nick Sakelj at center. Is that a good option? Not particularly. Or you can put Matt Hennessy at center. Yeah, it might be
who actually looked pretty good, I thought, at practice.
Looks like he's moving really well.
Yeah.
I like Matt Hennessy.
Yeah, he does move
and I
really
like
well.
the pop. So you have that option there. You have the Nuge. You have options. And I think that's the big takeaway that I've had. Okay, they don't have the guys that everyone wants. They don't have the heir apparent to Trent Williams. By the way, you can't replace Trent Williams. Why do you need to have some poor kid coming in here as his heir apparent? That's a ridiculous ask. There is no heir apparent to Trent Williams. You just pray that Trent Williams keeps playing, and when he decides to hang it up, you pray you can pivot because you're going to lose no matter what when it comes to replacing Trent Williams. There is no replacement for Trent Williams. But they have viable backups at left tackle and right tackle now. I think Austin Pleasance, you agree, has looked very, very good. I love the concept of Spencer Burford. His hands are really powerful. I love the concept of Spencer Burford at tackle, and he does look lighter on his feet than he has in years past. I think he did a good job in the weight room of getting to the right body shape, but those hands are impressive. I mean, that is a punch and a half. It's going to shock some people. You have viable backup at left guard with Hennessy and a couple other guys. Barch looks fantastic. Totally get why they were so crestfallen when he went out last year. His tape was great for a game and a half, and he looks awesome. He looks big. He looks strong. He moves like a sumbitch. Really in on Barch. He's going to be the starter there at left guard. And then you have good, viable backups at center. And now with Connor Colby and Drew Moss are going to fight for a job here. You got good backups at right guard. So you have some serious depth. Does it have the high end that everyone's looking for? Does it have this, across the board, everyone's in the top 5 or top 10 that you're looking for? No. But you know what? If someone goes down, and probably more than one's going down, you're not losing that much. You go 10 deep. And I think on offensive line, in an era where a guy like Aaron Banks, who was unquestionably the weak link of the 49ers offensive line last year, teams were just attacking him repeatedly. They were going right at him again and again and again. That guy got $77 million. I would rather have the deeper team. I'd rather go 10 deep than have 2 or 3 really star guys. And then effectively you're having the Kansas City offensive line. You got a great left guard. You got a great center. You got a great right guard. But you have the 2 worst tackles in the league, and now you're paying Jalen Moore $15 million a year, a guy who couldn't beat out Colton McKivitz to be the right tackle on the 49ers. You're paying him $15 million a year, hoping that solves the problem. Or you're taking Kingsley Suo-Matia, who I'll cop to it. I thought he was going to be great. He wasn't. The 49ers gave him to the Kansas City Chiefs. Please, take him. We don't want him. He sucked. He was awful last year. They're going to move him to guard. They can't play him at tackle. So now they're just trying to buy their way out of the problem with draft capital, with big-time free agent spending. This is what a lot of teams are doing. This is what the Rams did. This is what the Bears are doing this year. Kansas City's trying to buy their way out of problems. The Packers trying to buy their way out of their guard issues. And it doesn't work. All you do is you're paying off a credit card with a credit card, and you're paying off a credit card with a credit card. Now your debt's spiraling. Now you're underwater. Meanwhile, the 49ers are getting cheaper, and frankly, I think better. I see the vision on the offensive line plan. It's not sexy. It's not going to sell, but I think it's good enough, and I think they're going to have a better offensive line. And Brock Purdy was one of the better EPA quarterbacks in the league. I know EPA is a flawed number, and it can't be all-encompassed, but there were 15 quarterbacks in the league last year that got pressured more than 35% of the time. Brock Purdy was one of them. 2 of them had positive EPAs. Will Levis had a minus 94 EPA, which I didn't think was possible. He was one of the guys who was getting pressured all the time. Brock Purdy and Sam Darnold were the 2 guys who had positive expected points added, despite being pressured 35% of the time or more, which was bottom half in the league. Sam Darnold was at plus 22. Brock Purdy was at plus 67. He had a top 10 EPA season. This is despite having the 27th ranked play action rate and the 29th ranked average receiver target separation. So he's getting no help from his receivers. He's getting no help from Kyle. And he's getting no help from his offensive line, comparatively. And he's still putting up a top 10 season by EPA. Take it for what it's worth. What happens if that number comes down 5%? What happens if we're talking 30% pressure rate as opposed to 35%? That's an MVP caliber season, I think, reasonably, from Brock Purdy. What happens if they can get a little bit more separation, which is what Leonard Hankerson was talking about ad nauseum when we were talking to him the other day. It's about getting separation. It's about knowing we're getting man press. I can give you a good rep against zone. It's about getting against man press. This is why we need Cowing to be heavier. This is why we need Pearsall to be heavier, because they're going to get pressed. They got to stay on their lines. That's been their entire offseason. They know it's coming. Now they got to do it. What happens if this offensive line is just a little bit better than it was last year, a little healthier even, just on that baseline? If Brock Purdy's putting up these kind of numbers, and again, take the numbers for what they're worth. It doesn't catch all of it. But if he does that under those circumstances, what happens when he gets pretty good? What happens if he gets like 12th, 13th best offensive line instead of 20th? I'm excited for the possibility, and I think that this 49ers offensive line, just because of their depth, has the chance to provide that. So I'm all in. I see the vision. I see the light.
It's funny. It's like I kind of do as well. I mean, I know that people want to hear, criticism sometimes, but I'll say this. I mean, on this front, if I share the screen and we go through what they actually have real quick. This is what it looks like. I mean,
there we go.
Basically, we all know everybody, but I mean, Trent Williams, Ben Barch on the left side, Brendel, and the reason that Furster is so invested in Brendel is that they go back to Miami, and Brendel made Furster look good when Furster spoke up and said, "Hey, you know what? I got a center. We don't have to keep paying, Weston Richburg and the guy from Cal.
Don't need to bring in Alex Mack, who by
Alex
the way was
Mack.
a
We
shell
don't
of
have
his
to
former self.
Yeah, we don't have to keep paying these centers. I've got a guy, and he's smart, and he can do the job, and he's efficient, and I know him in Miami, and so they go back. So Brendel's his guy, and I understand that, but I just want to enter into the conversation that it's plausible that Matt Hennessy could be better.
Totally.
Or that Drake Nugent could be better, or that Nick Sikel could be better, or that Colton McKivitz could be better. And why is that even pertinent? Well, it's pertinent because, to me, the story of OTAs is that the 49ers, unless my eyes are totally deceiving me, have a revelation on their hands in Austin Pleasance. Now,
yeah, he looks awesome.
Austin Pleasance is been around the block. Okay.
to be fair. He sees some shit.
Wait a second. Am I showing? Are you seeing this?
Oh yeah.
You're seeing all these teams?
Jacksonville, a lot. Carolina, a
Jacksonville,
lot. Chargers, Bears, Cardinals,
Carolina, Chargers,
Cardinals again,
Bears, Cardinals, Chargers, Arizona, Chicago, San Francisco. Okay. One thing that's kind of good is that he keeps going back to places, so people keep wanting this guy back. I interviewed him when he came out here, when the Niners signed him. The Niners signed him late in the year just because they were running out of guys. And Chris told me, I was talking to Furster this week, and he said to me, he's like, "Hey, we signed him. He looked good in the tryout camp, but we really didn't know what we had, and we actually had to put him out there because we had a need, and he played all right. He actually played all right. But he goes, but this year he obviously went somewhere and got himself in amazing shape, and he's like, he is a very huge man who's as good a mover at this weight as I've ever seen. And he's 6'6", 330. He's only 27, and he was moving in these offensive line drills like an all-pro kind of tackle. He was moving exceptionally well. And he's big, powerful, and explosive. And next to Nicholas Petit-Frere, I'm looking at Nicholas Petit-Frere, and I'm just like, oh my God, Nicholas Petit-Frere should just leave. He should just walk off the field. I don't know if I've ever seen in an NFL workout that dramatic a split between two guys that are basically, playing the same spot, going for the same thing. And sure enough, Petit-Frere didn't even make it to the next practice.
Why don't you just go home? Yeah.
He went home, and he looked horrible, and his career's over probably. And Pleasance looks like, so I mentioned this to Furster. I'm like, this guy looks amazing. And he's like, yeah. I mean, I don't even. This guy's moving, and the size and the movement and the strength. I'm telling you, there's a shot that there's a chance that their best 5-man alignment includes Austin Pleasance, and that means that somebody else would have to move somewhere else. But Austin Pleasance may be one of their best 5 linemen and may wind up getting on the field because
he'll get on the field. He'll get on the field
is
because
a big, fast offensive lineman who's in his prime, and he looks fantastic.
I don't have any question that. I think it's between him and Burford. So now he and Burford are both free agents.
And
at the
Dillard.
End of the year,
there's also Dillard,
who I haven't seen or at least noted. Pleasance is obvious. Like it's one of those things where we watched him in the first week, and you're like, wow, it's like really. That boy can scoop. That's a lot of meat moving really fast, and that doesn't look normal, right? It just doesn't look normal. And we've seen how many offensive line drills throughout the years at every level. It's pretty easy to figure out who's got the it factor and who doesn't, in the run game at least. It was actually great that Trent Williams was there for OTAs on a strictly selfish level, because Trent Williams does the rep, and you're like, oh, that's how the rep is supposed to look. Like, it's as good as it gets. I was just laughing at a lot of Trent Williams' reps because they're just flawless. They're unbelievably good. Austin Pleasance really wasn't that much different. It didn't look that different. And he is not
amazing.
Trent Williams. He's not Trent Williams. I don't know what he is going to look like when they have to actually anchor and do some pass pro. That could be his downfall. Not questioning it at all. But he is a markedly different body than last year. I'll say this, though. Colton McKivitz looks yoked. Colton McKivitz was out there lifting logs or doing something. Maybe it was just a good arm day. He looked different, too. There's a couple of guys on this team that look markedly different. I'm going to give it to Burford. He looks a little slimmer around the waist. I'm going to give it to Colton McKivitz, who just looks like really big and like he looks like he grew into his frame. He's really an impressive in the upper body and on the shoulders. And then Pleasance looks different. And then two other guys. I think D. Winters looks bigger, and I think Jacob Cowing looks stronger. I don't know if he's bigger, but he's definitely more cut. He doesn't look like a kid who got handed a jersey and said, go play wide receiver, which is kind of what he looked like last year. He looks like an adult man and a professional football player for the first time. So the fact that three of those guys are on the offensive line, I think really is encouraging, because they're probably going to need, if Jalen Moore is out here getting $15 million a year and Aaron Banks is out here getting 77, this market is out of control. And Colton McKivitz might have been their best offensive lineman last year, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. And I think he's going to have a better year this year, which means that the 49ers are going to say, we're going to need a new right tackle because we don't pay that kind of money for Colton McKivitz or Mike McGlinchey or Aaron Banks or Jalen Moore. So Austin Pleasance and Spencer Burford are in the running. They're trying out not just to be the swing tackle, they're trying out to be the starting right tackle next year, I think.
Well, I'll tell you, I also went up to Burster and I said to him, I said, hey, man, you're coaching Connor. I'm standing right there. I go, you're giving Connor Colby just an earful.
Yep.
Yep. And I said, I know the the mindset, which is coach the guys that have the talent that you want to get better. Coach those guys hard. And he had a big smile, and he admitted that he's coaching Connor Colby and Austin Pleasance different because he sees the talent that they have. And he also really likes Drew Moss. He's a Colorado State guy. Chris went to Colorado State, I guess, and he was joking about that, but he loves Drew Moss. He said Drew Moss is super tough.
Drew Moss is clean. Drew Moss looks better than Connor Colby's got a little bit of a false step. He's got a little bit of a cross step. I like his hands don't have that same kind of power. Now, Moss gets a little bit too tight with his hands. He doesn't extend enough. He doesn't get enough of the biceps into his sets. But Moss, he's just it's almost like a hovercraft. He's just low and smooth in his movement. It's like you can see that he's got this low center of gravity. And he looks like a mean son bitch too. You can see that Furster really likes him. He doesn't have a lot of coaching points for him because he just keeps telling him, really good job, really good job. Meanwhile, I mean, you're not kidding. He is giving Connor Colby the business. And again,
he's yelling at him.
It can be a positive thing. He wouldn't bother. He wouldn't bother if he didn't want him to get better. But there's a lot of stuff to clean up. He sees a lot more to clean up, which could end up meaning that he's a better player down the line, more potential than Moss. But as of right now, it wouldn't shock me at all if they had to get rid of one of the two, and they don't have to right now. But it feels like Moss has a lead in the race, and those two guys are definitely fighting for a roster spot. One single roster spot.
The reason we started right here on the offensive line is because this is where the whole thing starts.
Totally.
So, to me, the argument is that the 49ers didn't invest in the offensive line this year because they invested in the defensive line, and so they passed on addressing their offensive line. The narrative is the general narrative is that they passed on doing anything for their offensive line. Their offensive line is going to suck, and that's going to be their downfall. So if that's your premise, then we're not seeing the team the same way, because what I see is what you described. The best left tackle in football, a really suitable left guard in Ben Barch, who I think for a fraction of the money may wind up giving you a better overall graded season than what Banks gave you. And I love Banks as a guy.
I love Banks as a guy too. Great guy. But Barch for $1 million or Banks for 17 isn't even a question. If they were making the same amount of money, I still might take Barch.
Yeah. So then you got Brendel, and it's like, okay, I don't think Brendel should start, but whatever. The nice thing is you do have options here between Hennessy and Nugent and Zakel. And if you told me what you just said about Moss is a tough guy, then maybe Moss could even play center because he definitely has the body for center.
For sure.
And you got Pooney at right guard, who's a real good player. You got McKivitz, who looks like he's primed to earn a monster contract, and he's looking to have a big year and cash out. I'm sure
about to get that McGlinchey.
Then you got Pleasance and Andre Dillard at tackle, and Dillard was better in Green Bay than he was in Philadelphia, in my opinion.
True.
And then Burford, Zakel, and Hennessy, along with Nugent, Connor Colby, Drew Moss. The other guys aren't real as far as Sebastian Gutierrez and Isaac Alarcon are just guys. I do kind of like Zach Johnson, though. Zach Johnson, Connor Colby, Drake Nugent, Drew Moss. You got those 4 guys. Then you got Burford, Dillard, Hennessy, Zakel, Pleasance. That's 9 decent linemen that don't start. So that's good depth because you got 5. You got a full room of guys that know your system. You got a good coach, and I think I don't see like you're not naked. Like if somebody goes down, Ben Barch goes down tomorrow, you could plug in Spencer Burford.
You'll live.
Burford goes down, you could plug in Connor Colby. Brendel goes down, you could plug in Matt Hennessy. I really think I think they're going to be okay. I know the premise is, oh my God, they're screwed because of their line, and you definitely don't want to lose Trent Williams. He is their Achilles heel.
Of course.
But everybody's got a player.
Williams. Don't put that in the universe, Larry.
Everybody's got a player like that, and that's Chris Jones for Kansas City. That's Justin Jefferson for Minnesota. That's can name that's Puka Nacua for the Rams. There's Verse or somebody.
Sure, yeah.
Everybody's got a player or two that. Oh my God,
you don't want to lose stars. Can't lose stars.
You don't want to lose your epic guys. So I would just say overall, before we jump to another topic, I think the Niner offensive line, could it be better? Yeah. If they had a gigantic Anthony Belton that they had drafted in the 4th round, just sitting right there, ready to plug in some gigantic, but that's not their guys. I'm telling you, what I saw from Austin Pleasance is the equivalent of like a 3rd-round draft choice or 2nd-round draft choice. He looked like a player. I'm not talking about like he's okay enough to make the roster as a backup. He looks like a guy that might be their best right tackle.
If Colton McKivitz got traded tomorrow, because I don't want to put injuries out into the universe, if he got traded tomorrow, just says, I'm not, you don't sign me, trade me now, they could just go to Pleasance. And there would not be a significant enough drop-off to where you would fundamentally change your opinion on the San Francisco 49ers. Now, anything that happens beyond Trent Williams, it's going to be significant.
Sure.
But
it's okay to have one guy that you can't lose.
Of course. But that guy is also you're not putting him on a pedestal that he doesn't deserve. He's Mount Olympus all time. It's Trent fucking Williams. Of course, you can't replace him. This idea that, just take somebody in the 1st round who can be the next Trent Williams. There's no next Trent Williams. The reason that the NFL is in the situation it's in, where offensive linemen are getting paid way more than they should based on their overall talent level and getting drafted way higher than they should based on how they're graded, is because there's not enough coming through the pipelines. We're betting on one characteristic of the guy and hoping that your offensive line coach can turn him into something. The problem is everybody is clamoring over one guy who's got one skill set, and now he's getting drafted 3 rounds earlier than he probably should. And everybody's going to pay the premium because they're afraid of what happens if they don't, because there's just not enough good offensive linemen. And that's an issue that it comes down to a lack of bodies at the lower level. It comes down to how different the collegiate game is on the offensive line than it is at the professional level. It comes down to just straight coaching. The coaching isn't as good at these lower levels with offensive line. I think about the crappy offensive line coaches that you see in high school and even in college. It's kind of doughy, drunk guys. It's not all. I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but there are some really embarrassing offensive line coaches out there. I might have had a few of them. So it's all to say that it makes total sense to me that a guy like Austin Pleasance, who has been tossed around so much that he can probably live on frequent flyer miles for the rest of his life on any vacation he wants to take, that at 27 years old, he's got enough experience now that he actually knows how to play fucking offensive line in the NFL because he's been in the NFL.
It sounds like it's amazing, but, I mean, think about it. If I just told you, yeah, man, I know this guy, and he's super talented, and he's always been super talented, but he never really kind of figured it out in his early 20s, and it took to he was 25, 26, 27 before he kind of figured it all out. Would you be like, what? I cannot believe that.
It's totally logical. At a position where when you are thrown into the deep end from the jump, right? Okay, now listen, he was an undrafted free agent to Jacksonville. It's not as he never had a shot. He doesn't know what he's doing coming in. Right? And then he bounces around because there's just enough. There's just these glimpses. But over that period of time, he's picked up just enough to be able to put himself in a position to where now Chris Forster's let's dig in. We actually have a prospect here. That's the state of offensive line play. You're going to have to bounce around for a really long time just to be good enough to get a shot. And he's taken full advantage of it. All the credit in the world to him. But the idea of, go out and, spend all this money on offensive line. I mean, what's that going to do for you? How'd that work for the Rams last year? How's that going to work for the Bears this year, spending all this money on the offensive line? If you want to spend your money on your own guys, go ahead. But when Aaron Banks is getting $77 million, I want to not be in the free agent game. I don't want to be in that game. And if what was the kid, Carson Vinson out of Alabama A&M, who I think everyone agrees, you like his feet, but is not a good offensive lineman and is probably a 2 or 3 year project. And then you look up on day 3 and in the 4th round he goes and you're like, oh, that was the clearest 7th round draft pick of all time. And he's gone in the 4th, and we're talking about the kid out of Texas, the offensive lineman out of Texas this year. I forget his name, the tackle.
Cameron Johnson.
No, the other one.
Cameron Williams.
Banks.
Oh, Kelvin Banks.
Kelvin Banks, who I thought was a plotter, I thought was doughy. And obviously there's a lot of talent there, but it looks like it's going to need a redshirt year, to say the least, at the NFL level. And he's going in the top 10. The inflation on these guys is insane because it's supply and demand.
Oh, they're rare human beings.
Totally.
So if you get it together.
Complete waste of talent by Dieter Kurtenbach, by the way. 6'8", 340 pounds natural walking weight, but, here we are.
Here's Pleasance right here. Let's listen to a minute of Pleasance. I don't know if I can do this.
Larry does not subscribe to YouTube Premium. That's
it's no longer.
Hold on a second. Let's hear a little Pleasance.
First off, looks like an offensive lineman. That helps.
Here he is. This is me talking to Pleasance.
49er Austin Pleasance. And Austin, what's it like day one here in with your new team? What's going through your mind today?
Well, it's been great so far. A lot of the guys have been a really big help, just helping me, find my way around the building and whatnot. I'm excited to get to work. I'm excited for an opportunity, And at the end of the day, that's really all I want is an opportunity to be out on the field and doing what I love. So
you're an Ohio kid, right?
Yes,
Grew up Browns fan?
Bengals fan, yeah.
Bengals fan. And tell us a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? What kinds of things are you into?
I grew up in Southeast Ohio. Pretty simple, upbringing. Grew up with my mom, my younger brother, and just played football, sports growing up. I'm a huge nerd, honestly. I love Marvel, Star Wars. I love Lego. I've been building,
Nice.
I love spending time with my family. I have a wife and a son, a 1-year-old.
Nice.
So I'm missing them a lot right now.
Where are they based?
They're in Ohio.
In Ohio.
Yeah, so we live in my hometown. So,
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And you got some family support back there?
Of course. Yeah.
Everybody wants to gather around the baby, I'm sure, huh?
Yeah.
So what? I get 4 kids. Going from 0 to 1 is the hardest. I just say that because yesterday you're in the club and now you're sitting there rocking the baby to sleep. Going from 2 to 3 is hell too because they outnumber you and you got to play zone defense. How has having a kid changed your pro career? I mean, as far as does it seem different to you mentally now that you have a little guy?
Yeah, I mean, everything changes.
Yeah.
it's no longer about me.
Right.
It's about us. It's about him, and making sure that I'm the best example that he has of, what it is to be a man, what he wants to look up to be, and that's really, I live every day with that in mind. So.
Very cool. Anyway, just a little bit of Austin Pleasance there. We don't play the whole interview.
I think
but,
we're going to be hearing a lot from Austin Pleasance as the season progresses. Kind of the last takeaway on this, like, it's good that there's clear-cut competition for backup jobs, right? Like, I think that the starting offensive line is pretty well set. I don't think there's any competition. I think it's Barch at left guard, and I think Forster isn't even pretending to have a competition there. But when you got Hennessy and Zakelj fighting it out for a spot, and you got Colby and Moss fighting it out for a spot, and you got, to a degree, Burford and Pleasance fighting it out for a spot, like, that's a really positive thing. And none of these guys are just charity cases. Got to have competition. That's what I want. I would rather have the deep team than the team that's got 3 highly paid guys and has to figure it out everywhere else. Give me.
Well, if you're not sure about Barch, or you're not sure about Brendel, or you're not sure about, it's nice to have at least a solid backup line of guys that won a hard competition in the summer, ready
earned it
to go. And I think the numbers look good, actually. I think, really, Trent Williams and McKivitz are going to be your tackles. Dillard against Pleasance against Burford for maybe 2 spots, maybe 1. Then Hennessy against Zakel and Nugent and Moss and probably Zach Johnson and Colby for maybe 2 spots. It's going to be tough.
It's going to be tight.
And
they might have to go with an extra one.
Might have to go with an extra one. A couple guys may have to go through waivers and hit the practice squad. You get a hope that nobody, if they lost Kingston last year at the cutdown. Right. It's easy to lose guys at the cutdown.
But and to be fair, Kingston I spent a lot of time watching Kingston, right? And I watched
power
that,
lifter.
And I go, like, I'd much rather have Nugent than Kingston if you have to make that choice. And that's the choice they made. Now, it was an easier choice. They tried to get them both. But, like, Kingston never, impressed. Like, you can see he moves pretty good to his right, but it was a little wonky on the left, and he didn't look like he was confident in his movements. I still wanted them to keep him around. I want to see more. I don't want anyone, if you have an offensive lineman that's got something, enough to draft him, you don't want to lose him. But
he was enormously strong.
And that's not something that was terribly evident in his play from the training camp reps that we were able to see. Might have manifested with time, and he moved interestingly, and I think he kind of got a bad rap at USC. I need to check in on Jared Kingston as it pertains. I think he's with the Carolina Panthers now. I'm interested to see how that goes, because Panthers got an interesting little roster. But
yeah, they got Ekwonu on that line. He's probably one of the best tackles in the game. But offensively, in this camp, I think the other thing that really jumped out is that I was expecting the 49ers with no Debo and no Aiyuk to look really muted, and I didn't get that sense. Now, the reason I didn't get that sense is because there's guys all over the field that can move, from Isaac Guerendo to Jacob Cowing to Demarcus Robinson to Jordan Watkins to Isaiah Nayer, even Malik Knowles. He's a big guy who's got 4.48 speed. They've got some guys who can move. They do. Izzy Abanaconda runs in the 4.3s. Kiner and Jordan James are, they're not fast backs, but they've got some scoot. They're young guys who can move. To me, the guys that are really exciting is, one, you've got Purdy, who looks like he's throwing strikes.
Yep. And
he's thrown to guys that have just been blanketed because they've been so freaking slow. Yep. And now you're going to replace those guys, except for Jennings, with Cowing and Watkins and Guerendo. And, man, those guys are so fast. And the one thing I saw a lot of in these OTAs was the back of Jacob Cowing's jersey. And I saw a lot of the back of Guerendo and the back of Watkins. These guys, these guys are moving. They have way better speed. This kid Nayer, he's a long shot, but he can flat out run.
He's got all the traits to win a track and field competition. I'm not sure if he can catch
he's
a
big
football.
and fast. I mean, he is fast.
He's a specimen.
They got some legit speed now. I mean, this team's got legit speed.
Well,
Watkins and Cowing alone would give them legit speed because those guys can run routes and separate.
And that's the short and the long route too. Like Watkins, as the guy who can do your 7, 8, and 9 on the route tree, is like really clean and really impressive. And you expected that coming out of Ole Miss because that's kind of all they run. And now Cowing is markedly bigger. He is crisper.
Way better.
He looks way better. And you know what? Good on him, because this was a make or break year. You're not giving a third year to Jacob Cowing in earnest, right? Even if he's on the roster next year, if he turned in what he turned in last year again this year, he's on the roster maybe, but he's replaced, right? Because you drafted someone. If it's not Watkins, it's somebody you take in 2026 or whatever. Like your second round or your day 3 pick. You're not getting 3 years as a day 3 pick. You got to show up at some point and make them play you. He's showing up. He's making them play him. Now, it helps in many ways that you don't have, Juwan Jennings is practicing some days and not other days. You don't know what the deal is with Demarcus Robinson. And Pearsall
is hurt.
Injured again. And it's brutal.
Hopefully it's not chronic. Hopefully, I mean, but
at this point, the evidence points to it more likely being chronic than not. But that's on him to solve it. I mean, when I brought it up to Leonard Hankerson, who I've known since he was back at Miami, he's like, "Yeah, well, we're working on it. Maybe diet or nutrition." And I'm like, "That's not what I want to hear. I don't want to hear that the kid has to eat different or something to make him stop getting injured." Like, I don't disagree that might be part of it, but like, if that's what we're resorting to, that's kind of an issue, and it lends itself to your argument that you've made that like you're concerned. Now, that said, apparently he has come in.
The
bigger.
Key to the season was more pot roast.
Right? Like, awesome. But I talked to him about Cowing. Is Cowing bigger? He goes, absolutely. He's at least 10 pounds bigger.
Yeah.
We needed that because he was getting bumped off of lines, and it doesn't matter how crisp you are on your in routes and your dig routes and all this stuff. If you can't get to the spot on time, and as I mentioned earlier, Brock Purdy's not doing a lot of play action. Everyone thinks this Kyle Shanahan offense is still running. This is a totally different offense. Brock Purdy is doing a lot of 5- and 7-step drops and a lot of shotgun stuff. And there is a timing element to all of this that isn't you can't fib it as much, even with Brock Purdy scrambling. You need to be in the place that Brock Purdy expects when that foot, drops down on a 3, 5, or 7-step drop, because they're still running that stuff. And you might think that that's a bygone thing. Everyone else is going to play action now. Well, the 49ers are going right back to the old school Tom Moore offense. And if you're getting knocked off your line because every team's coming and pressing you on the line of scrimmage because they know that that's how you stop a Shanahan offense, and they were proven correct last year, well, you're not going to be in the spot. And now Brock is having to make adjustments as he is just now coming to you, and he's having to calculate, okay, he's 3 steps behind where he should be because he got to his break late, and now I need to throw the ball here, but that's not, now I got to read this linebacker. You're putting way too much on the quarterback. It's not easy throws. He still made them, but they're not easy throws because you're having to readjust and recalibrate on the fly. And, oh, by the way, someone's trying to take you out and lacerate your kidneys with the tackle. So that's what Hankerson was going in on. Like, anyone can win against off man. Anyone can win. Hankerson's like, I can give you a good rep against zone because no one's pressing you. I just run to a spot. I run to the empty spot in the zone. To beat press man, you have to have a little bit of strength to you, and then your quickness can show. But if you don't have that strength at the line of scrimmage, it does not matter. And it'll be interesting to see how that manifests for Watkins, who does look slight. But my goodness, he is a graceful wide receiver. And the 7, 8, and 9 is really impressive. I haven't seen anybody run it like that. I mean, it's Aiyuk level. In fact, even might be a little bit better. Not the full route tree, but if you need someone at X receiver to just take the top off, I got your guy, Jordan Watkins. And then
Purdy
Cowing on the underneath.
Purdy said of Jordan Watkins has been balling from day one, really. He's come in and he's done everything pretty right, and he's been on point. Yeah. He's had a lot of explosive plays down the field. Yeah, the guy's a big-time player. I mean, he was one of my favorite receivers in the draft. I was praying because initially he was listed as an undrafted guy. I'm like, oh, maybe he won't be drafted. That was
The
maybe
ultimate Larry flex there.
Yeah, that
Hopefully
was
this
a
guy
wish.
doesn't get drafted so that the Niners can get him on the real
Yeah,
cheap.
I mean, I really was hoping because he was listed as an undrafted guy, and then of course, I'm
He was
like,
like the
come
fourth best
on.
receiver on Ole Miss, to be fair.
Well, yeah, I mean, but in some ways he was the best because
True.
it's
They
like
were moments.
they would have died this year without him. I mean, it wasn't Juice Wells that stepped up; it was this kid
No.
that stepped up.
I'm with
But what's really intriguing is that I thought. Now, granted, it's OTAs; it's
Right.
one day.
All
We're
of
only
this is
there
grain
for.
of salt.
You can't put too much into it. But from
Right.
what I saw, he looked better than Junior Bergen catching punts. Junior Bergen, I saw juggle 2 different punts.
Yeah,
Watkins plucked him with his hands, did it confidently. The one thing about
that's a good call.
Ole Miss, when you draft guys from Ole Miss, they are not going to come out to practice and be wowed by athletes.
Correct.
There's all kinds of athletes all
Half
over their
goddamn
practices.
team got drafted. The only position on Ole Miss that wasn't getting drafted was offensive line.
Right. It's a
Dudes.
They're
They
going
see
against
dudes every
dudes.
Saturday.
They got dudes. They're going against dudes. They're playing dudes on Saturday. I mean, and Jordan Watkins looks like a guy from the SEC, and Bergen looks like a guy from Montana.
Yes.
Now, I don't know what it will look like when it all matters, but I don't know what you think
can
about.
I
There's
add
a lot of
one
people.
more thing on that. This team does look smaller overall. I think so. One of the trademarks of the Niners during sort of the salad days is incorrect because they didn't actually win a Super Bowl. But when they were going to NFC championships every year, they had a really deadly combination of speed and size. And that's the ideal, right? You want speed and size. Some teams only have the size and they try to bludgeon you to death, and other teams have a lot of speed, but you can bludgeon them to death. The Niners had both at a lot of positions, a lot more than they had any right to really have. This team, and I don't see every other team, so this might just be the way the entire league is going right now. Wouldn't surprise me given what I see at the college level. But this team looks smaller. I know that they're trying to put some beef on the defensive line. I don't think they failed in that. Offensive line, guys look good. But everywhere else, pretty small dudes, but they're fast. They're fast, and that might be all that matters once pads come on. But it's something to just kind of keep an eye on in that they don't have that double combination like they used to of size and speed. It's just speed, and I wonder what that looks like. Maybe not early. Maybe it looks awesome for a long time. But like this is kind of Miami's problem, the Dolphins. Like what happens when we get into December and January? Is just speed enough, or do you need to have that punch as well? And I'm talking across the board, not just in the trenches, because everybody needs that in the trenches. What happens with the linebacker core? What happens with the secondary, which looks small, particularly at safety with Pinnock and Grant right now? I know Mustafa will come back in, and we'll see who the other safety is. But I'm curious. I'm curious. Moving Lenore out to the outside is makes them smaller as an overall team.
I did a video today on what I think is the biggest question that they face, which is, okay, so if we go back to last year, what were their issues last year? They didn't get separation at all. I think they've addressed that. They terrible against the run. I think they've addressed it. Whether it's addressed fully, they've addressed it. The special teams was a nightmare, and they've clearly addressed that.
I'll give you this. They are practicing. They're doing some awesome drills on special teams. They're doing stuff that they have not been doing, and it's a joy to watch them practice special teams. Now, I don't know if it's going to manifest in anything, but they got a shit ton of dudes who really should only be playing special teams, and they are drilling the living bejesus out of it. And it makes me think that they need to win a game or two just via special teams, and damned if they might not do it. By the way, Jake Moody, that is a different kicking motion, and I might be betting on Jake Moody now with that different kicking motion. It looks awesome.
Really?
He's doing this
that's
thing
interesting.
where he's
So he
spreading
took out a
his legs
step.
more. Yeah.
He took out a step, and he took it from a 3-step to a 2-step. Mm-hmm. And the argument is that, and it's funny because it's a really weird conversation. Why? Because the argument is that if you go to 2 steps, that 2 steps you're going to be more accurate than 3 steps. Well, isn't accuracy like everything?
Whole game, yeah.
Because then
I don't
when they
see any-
asked him about what he would, the downside, I go, what's the downside? Like, oh, you lose a little power. And then when Jake talked about it, he's like, yeah, you lose a yard or two.
Right.
If all you're losing is a yard or two,
Take the
if I
accuracy.
told you, here, use this driver. Oh, wait a second. Don't use that driver. Use this driver. You'll only hit it a yard or two shorter than you normally hit it.
Even 10.
But you're going to hit it in the fairway
Every time.
much easier.
Yeah.
If that actually worked, you would always use that. That would be called your new driver.
This is why I have a driving iron, Larry. Specifically,
That would be
for
your
this
new
reason.
driver.
I sacrifice
Why would
50 yards off the tee every time so that I am in the fairway. That's why I have
If
a
it
driving
only
iron.
costs him a yard or two, why the fuck did not try this earlier?
It's true.
I mean,
It's
I
true.
got to ask that question. All I would say is, Greg Joseph's a veteran.
Totally.
He's now a younger veteran. Let's have a real competition and let's see what it looks like,
And I
and
think
then
they will.
let's evaluate it from there. I wouldn't hold Jake's past against him, but at the same time, if he kicks to us, if he's still Jake, who hits a good one, kind of inconsistent, hits a good one, then kind of inconsistent, I think you're going to have to make a call.
Yeah.
And, I understand what Shanahan's worried about. Shanahan's worried that, and Lynch is worried that they're going to look bad on both ends. They already look bad for investing in a third-round kicker, but what if they get invested in a third-round kicker and then they get rid of him and he goes and has a great 20-year career because he's got kind of pedigree in their mind?
Right.
It could happen. It could happen. So
This
it's
is-
like,
this is the
Andy Lee.
danger.
The Niners had Andy Lee, and Andy Lee was a good punter. And then for whatever reason, the Niners are like, get lost, Andy Lee.
But
And Andy
think about
Lee
this, Larry.
punted for like 20 more years. It's
Bradley
like, come on.
Pinion was one of the best punters in the NFL the last 2 years for Atlanta.
Yeah.
49ers told him, no, get out of here. We're going to draft a 27-year-old punter in round number 4.
Right.
And then they replaced him with a man who's older than me, which is pretty hard to do these days.
And didn't the Patriots go for the Stanford kid as their punter in the 4th round? And haven't they already moved off of him?
There's
So
something.
it
There's
happens.
a lot going on.
It
Listen,
happens.
it
I mean, it's just-
happens. Jake Moody has a chance. He's got the leg, and it's kind of like a batter who uses a leg kick. And then they get rid of the leg kick, which is kind of messing up their timing and this and that. And you go, oh, what are you sacrificing? I don't know. They're making better contact, so who gives a shit? Like, you're not striking out all the time anymore. So do that.
Yeah. To me, though, the biggest issue is not any of those things. It's they have a bunch of DBs that could fit in or not fit in. And
I have no idea.
I think they just threw a bunch of what against the wall and they're going to see what sticks. I really do believe that.
Yep.
I think there's some guys. Okay, so just a quick, I did a video on this today, so I'm kind of well versed in these guys.
Okay.
Trey Brown
Kind of like him.
has got great strength, and he's also a veteran, and he's a special teams ace.
Yes,
So he is considered to be a very good special teamer.
I get it.
So he doesn't, to me, look very good, but he is coming in with some pedigree as a good special teamer. He also runs in like the high 4.4s, okay? But he's not big, but he has experience, and he's decent, but he's not great.
I've kind of liked his reps in 7-on-7 for whatever
He's
that's worth.
he's better in zone than he is in man.
Yep, I'll give you that.
Okay, so that's him. Then there's Trey Avery. Trey Avery's also an older guy, a veteran from Tennessee. He looks really good on plays where they go deep, but they throw it short, and he comes back because he's really aggressive on the ball. He's
Played at
really good at
Rutgers.
that
That's what
play.
they teach at Rutgers.
Yeah, he's really aggressive and he's strong and he's cocky and he's looked really good actually on the practice field.
First
to
OTAs,
me,
he's
he's
got
looked
2
good.
positive checks next to his name, and those are hard to get, let me tell you.
What's that?
I gave Trey Avery 2 pluses.
Oh,
in
did you?
The first
in
OTAs.
the Dieter system, Dieter grading system,
the
2
Dieter
pluses?
system is tried and true. And let me just say, you don't want a negative, you want a plus. And I'll put a little note next to your name if I like what I'm seeing. But Trey
It's
Avery.
it was like me when I coached when I picked Little League. I coached Little League, the tryouts. Yeah. I had my grading system.
I got a couple of thicks on here. I got a lot of not practicing. Magnificent for Christian McCaffrey on the first practice. Wow for Ben Barch. False step on Connor Colby.
Look at the don't take us too far beyond the curtain.
I'm just saying.
We don't want to. We're going to know your system. Then we're going to adapt.
There's maybe 20 check marks on this list from the first OTA practice. Larry Darrell Luter got 3. Trey Avery got 2.
That's good.
D. Winters got 1.
So just going through it quickly: Trey Brown, Trey Avery, and I kind of liked Avery. Chase Lucas is a special teamer. Really underpowered. He's very popular with the guys. Everybody really likes Chase Lucas.
He just hung around last year. He had no job.
He doesn't really. Around. I don't really. He's too small. He's not a hitter. To me, he's a special teamer only. He's a very popular guy. Everybody likes him. Got a good personality, but I don't think he's one of their better guys.
Agreed.
Then there's Jacob Robinson from BYU, who I think is really intriguing. Why? Because he's got 4.3 speed and he had 11 career interceptions.
Yeah.
And he's got a good vertical too, like 38-inch vertical.
Has he practiced?
He's a kind of smaller guy. He's what's that?
I haven't noticed him.
He's 4.36. Yeah, he's been practicing. He had a PBU. Him and Jalen Mahoney combined for a PBU in the middle of the field.
Okay.
So that was the last practice, and Robinson I thought was the real reason for it. Okay. His coverage was really tight. So you got him. Then you've got obviously Upton Stout. He's going to make the team. He's probably your third best corner. It's probably Lenore and Renardo, and then of course Upton. Then there's Luter, and I think Luter is going to make the team for sure. I think Luter. He's a press man corner. He's got 34-inch arms. He's got he's got 4.46 speed. He's got good man-to-man cover ability. He's mature. He's talented. This is this year's Samuel Womack. If this guy doesn't make the team, this guy's going somewhere else and going to make somebody else's team, and you're going to watch this guy succeed in the NFL for the next 5 or 6 years. So don't screw it up, Niners. Make sure this guy finds his way to the roster. He will haunt you if you let him go somewhere else. It will be Sam Womack.
By the way, they chose him over Sam Womack last year, and so you better make good on that because Sam Womack's a good player for the Colts.
Well, you should have took Womack over the guy from the Saints, Yadam. Which was ridiculous.
Yadam had such a good training camp. He really fooled us. It was because they had shitty wide receivers.
Or Rock Ya-Sin or anybody. I mean, just keep an extra corner. How about this? Yeah. Don't ever, again, get rid of good young corners that you draft. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't cut Deshaun Jameson. Don't cut Sam Womack. You didn't need Matt Pryor. You could have signed him and put him in a hotel and given him room service. He would have room service. He would have been probably signed for that.
Probably.
Okay, so you got Jacob Robinson, Chase Lucas, Trey Avery, Trey Brown. Then you have Renardo Green, Demo Lenore, Darrell Luter, Upton Stout. Then now it's starting to get interesting. Now they've got Saron Neal. Saron Neal is a linebacker and a safety who came to corner later. He's a special teams ace as well. He comes from Miami. He's considered a really good special teamer. I don't think he's much of a coverage guy. He never ran a great 40 time. He's a 4.54 40 guy. He's not fast, but he is tough. He is considered an alpha. A leader, and a guy who's a real special teams ace. So I'm looking for him to play great.
And a 4-year career out of Pittsburgh State. Not Pittsburgh State in Kansas.
Pittsburgh State, Division
II. You better have something.
Yeah. Division II kid. Then there's Dallas Flowers, and Dallas Flowers might be one of the most intriguing guys because he's big and really fast.
Sorry, Dallas Flowers is Pittsburgh State.
Is it Dallas Flowers at Pittsburgh State?
Yeah, Sirian Neal's played 8 years out of Jacksonville State. He was a Dolphin.
Yeah, that's right, Jacksonville State.
Jacksonville
Dallas
State
Flowers,
the Gamecocks, the Alabama one. Jacksonville University.
Dallas Flowers is fast and rangy. He's really fast. I'm eager to see what he does. Because he's probably of the group of corners that they have here, this is the guy with the traits. He's got some length. He's got some speed.
Okay.
Well, he's got traits. He's just got traits. I'm just saying. I'm not saying. I don't even know how good he is. And then there's Derek Canteen.
Nice pick.
Derek Canteen played at Georgia Southern. He played at Vatech, and then he finished at Cincinnati. He played 6 years of college ball, but he did have 9 career interceptions. That's a lot of interceptions. And he got an interception the other day at practice.
He did. Picked off Mac Jones. Threw it right to him.
It was right to him. But that's an interesting guy because he's got some ball skills. He's got some ball skills. He's got some youth. He's an undrafted rookie free agent, as is Jacob Robinson.
Yeah.
So that's the group right there. Jacob Robinson, Derek Canteen, Chase Lucas, Dallas Flowers, Saron Neal, Upton Stout, Darrell Luter, Trey Avery, Trey Brown, Renardo Green, and Demo Lenore. You got 10 guys there. You got 10 guys, and you got to have at least, I would say, 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So I would say, and there's also talk about, there's Jair Alexander's on the trade market, Jalen Ramsey's on the trade market, though a lot of people think he's going to be traded into play safety.
I would play him at
Amik
safety.
Robertson's out there. There's some other guys out there if they wanted to go try to sign somebody. There's a few names out there. So what do you think? I mean, that to me, and then at safety, it's Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown. But Mustafa and Brown may not be healthy. I mean, Brown should be healthy for camp. Mustafa will not be healthy for week 1. And then I thought Richie Grant and Jason Pinnock looked really good.
Yeah.
Marquise Siegel did not play. Nope. He was in civvies. Didn't see George Odom.
Odom's in civvies. Mustafa's been watching practice with John Lynch. Daniel Bullocks gave a great quote to Hutch about Marquise Siegel and how
what did he say?
His IQ is off the charts. And
wow. Really?
That they're all in on him and the stuff between the ears, and then that he's fast as hell. I mean, his tape just shows somebody that just...
He also is a hitter. I mean, I saw him in the East-West Shrine game, Dieter, smoke a guy on the sidelines.
It was the Shrine Bowl or
just
the Senior
really,
Bowl? He was in one of them. But
it was the Shrine.
Going back and
first quarter of the Shrine game on the sideline, he comes up and runs support and absolutely absolutely laid wood on the receiver and it banged him hard. The guy went down, solo tackle.
He's out there. He's out there basically being the defensive coordinator in that All-Star game, and the coaches just had him calling out all the plays and getting guys in the right position and stuff. Apparently, he is just really, really bright, and that's not something that you offer when talking about a young player who's a 4th, 5th round pick, unless it's unimpeachable, right? You don't pump up someone's football IQ and their overall ability to be a leader of men unless it is undeniable from the second they walk in the building, because all you're doing is setting a kid up to fail if he's not that kind of guy, if he's not all the way there, if he doesn't have preternatural abilities in that. But I love the idea. I am now buying all the way in. I've been skeptical because the tape at Kansas, I watched a lot of Kansas State. I was a big Jacob Parrish guy. I watched a lot of Kansas State. They played him as a dime back a lot. He was always kind of the last guy in. There would be these flashes, but it was hard to find him in the Kansas State defense because he just kind of wasn't doing anything. I think he was completely miscast. I think he was in the wrong defense for him. And they want him to play single high, and they say that he is really, really sharp. And that's all I need to hear, because I know the physical traits are there, but if you don't have it between the ears and you're trying to play free safety in the NFL, it ain't gonna work. That is a position like quarterback where it starts with the IQ, and then you hope you have the physical traits to back it up and to take it another step. Safeties are destiny in the NFL, and this is a kid that him and Mustafa, if it pans out, I know Mustafa's good, and I know Mustafa's smart, and I know Mustafa can bring the wood, and he plays with conviction. He'll miss some dudes, fine, but he's going for it. He's got the angle, he's going for it. He's not holding back. That's the all gas, no brakes nonsense that they keep bringing up, but it plays there. If Sigel also has that kind of IQ and can use that prodigious speed to cover a tremendous amount of field, they can play single high, and they can do it at a very high level. It's very exciting. I can't wait to see him on the field because, I usually take coaches' stuff with grains of salt, right? They're not trying to get anybody in trouble or build up anybody too much. They're smart enough on it. I'm glad that they were just raving to Hutch. I listened back to it. I mean, they're just raving. It was off the charts, and it sounded a lot like how they talked about Mustafa last year, and we saw how that worked out. So,
wow,
I'm very excited.
Great. That's great because I didn't hear that. I didn't get a chance to talk to that coach.
Yeah, Daniel. I
did get a chance to talk to Johnny Holland though, and Johnny Holland was very interesting, and I thought the linebacking core was really interesting in this camp. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I mean, you've added some guys here. I mean, Luke Gifford doesn't do anything for me. He's a special teamer, but I like the way Chaz Surratt moves. I like what I've seen on the practice field from Jalen Graham. But the two guys that are really exciting are Tatum Bethune and Stone Blanton on the back end. I was talking to Johnny about Stone Blanton. He's like, yeah, we really like him. He's like, he takes hard coaching. You tell him things one time, and he's got it down. Yeah. He's like, he really understands angles. He understands where to be, and this guy plays fast. He goes, I know the stopwatch speed isn't there, but you're going to see this guy show up at the football. And you get the feeling that Stone Blanton, who made a ton of tackles at Mississippi State this last year,
great player there, is
going to probably, show something and be representative. I would be shocked if Stone Blanton is not a tackling machine and is not almost a cult favorite by the time we get to September. We'll see. But the guy who really opens my eyes is Tatum Bethune. Tatum Bethune is a really good linebacker who just isn't fast enough to play in the NFL.
Right.
That was the take last year. And that was the truth last year.
100%.
That's why he went in the 7th round.
Yep.
He runs in the 4.7s. It used to be you could run in the 4.9s and have the big neck roll, and that was it.
Today.
And then there was a time where you need to run the 4.7s. And then all of a sudden it's like, now we're in an era where you have to run in the 4.5s or you really can't play in the NFL. Chaz Surratt runs in the 4.5s. Nick Martin runs 4.53. Fred Warner runs in the 4.5s. D. Winters is really, really fast. Jalen Graham is a converted safety. He's a runner. Tatum Bethune was a step and a half, if not 2 steps, slow. But what Tatum Bethune has is just crazy, natural linebacker instincts to know how to slip blocks and how to play physical and this. And I mentioned it to Fred Warner the other day after practice. I said, Fred, Tatum Bethune looks really, really good. What do you see? And without me even prompting him, he's like, it's not just he looks better. He's like, it's not just that he's, he knows more and this and that. He's like, he's redone his whole body. And it's true. It's like you look at this guy and you're like, this guy went out and this guy wants it. And he got good advice. And sometimes these guys get good advice. Sometimes they don't.
Totally.
And this guy got good advice. And I guarantee you, without even knowing it, that the Niners said to him, you have to find, through your conditioning, an extra step or two because you're too slow right now. And he went out and he found that step, and a step and a half. He is so fast right now. He looks amazing. Tatum Bethune is going to be a player in the NFL. Now, he's not a superstar, but he is going to be fast enough to be a linebacker that plays in the NFL, and he's good. I mean, he's short, and he's 5'11". He's probably dropped 5 pounds. He's probably like 5'11", 225, 228, something like that.
Dangerous.
But this guy's got instincts. He knows how to play, and he can make tons of tackles against the run. And as long as he's not deficient, where he's just so slow, it's like they're just going to pick on him.
Yeah.
Then he can make a career for himself. I mean, I'm really excited about Bethune and Blanton. I think both those guys are going to wind up being in the NFL. I really like those guys. And of course, Johnny Holland told me with conviction that he thinks Nick Martin is going to be a very good NFL player. He's like, there's no doubt he's going to be a very good NFL player. It's just a matter of time. But we'll see. I mean, I know we don't need to get into it. I know.
I mean, I would hope that they feel that way, seeing as they took him in the 3rd round. That's all I'll say. And
they
until
took
the pads
him
are coming on,
really
we don't
early.
Really know. Yeah. We just don't know until the pads come on, because it's unquestionably he's got the speed and the instincts, and you like a lot of this stuff. It's about how he can hold up and how he'll take on blocking. That's all. That's the only question I have, if he's big enough or if he's just wily enough to get around it.
There is an amazing story, by the way, out today in The Athletic by Barrows, where he talks about Nick Martin and his relationship with his brother Chauncey Martin, who went to prison, unfortunately, and now is out of prison, got his degree, went back to college, got his degree, played football, and is trying out in the UFL. But and obviously they're, I shouldn't say obviously, but they're brothers, and they lived in the same room together. And I guess there was a big family, but these two brothers were close in age, and they stayed in the same room, and they have this unbelievable bond. And supposedly, his brother Chauncey was like an inspiration to Nick growing up. And now, while Chauncey was locked up, Nick was playing college football, and Chauncey got to watch him on Saturdays on television from prison. And now he's out and making a second chance go good, hopefully. And anyway, it's a great story. And
Barrows does great work.
Barrows, yeah. I mean, but Barrows had this one nugget that I thought was really revealing about Nick Martin, and it was that what's the Oak State coach's game? Gundy, Mike Gundy.
Yeah.
I'm a man. I'm 40. Come pick on me. I'm a man.
Yeah.
I'm a man. I'm 40. Petition the athletic department to let them travel Nick Martin and pay for his accommodations on the road, because he felt he wanted him there because he was that much of a leader of the team. So when you've achieved that status, that the coach is like, even though you're hurt, we're going to fly you because we believe you're, that's what the Niners are also looking for. They're not just looking for fast or this or that. They're looking for somebody who can, you heard Tariq Ahmad say it. It's like, hey, we're putting this thing together thinking who's going to be the leader back there. And they like this kid's leadership traits, and they were willing to overdraft him because of it. I think it's pretty clear.
And listen, this is something I was talking to Hutch about. I appreciate that the 49ers have always treated their players like professionals, right? And I know that sounds trite and ridiculous, but like, Kyle Shanahan isn't here to teach anybody how to be a man or how to be a pro.
No.
Kyle Shanahan's here to give you the best chance of being successful as a professional athlete. There's a lot of teams that do a lot of babysitting, and a lot of teams that have to worry about off the field nonsense and this and that. It's why the Niners were so flummoxed by like the Brandon Aiyuk stuff, right? They're like, who the hell is this guy? It's the opposite of every minute they've spent with Brandon Aiyuk before then. Debo, you can deal with it a little bit, because that's Debo. Debo's always kind of been a big personality, but he's good-natured. He's good at heart. Like, he's not doing anything that's really dangerous. He's just a little showy. Like, there's no problem with that. George Kittle's a little showy too. That's fine, because they know that these guys are positive. They're fathers. They're positive influences on the community. Like all these things. Kyle Shanahan's not here to like guide someone through in how to be a man. You show up at San Francisco 49ers, and you're going to be a professional football player. We're not going to teach you how to do that. You're here because we think you're that. We'll teach you how to be the best version of yourself, but they're not doing all this stuff, which is why they lean so much on their veterans and guys like Fred and guys like George, and they, happy to pay Brock and Trent Williams, because it's kind of like the big dog teaching the puppy how we operate in this house. That teaching comes from the players, and they prioritize, we kind of scoff at the gold helmet shit and all that stuff, but like that matters, because it's one less thing for them to have to worry about in a league where you got a million things to worry about. Does our locker room have high character guys who we don't have to worry about doing 145 down on, 237 at 4 a.m, like anything like that? Like guys who are here, they're pros, not necessarily, they don't have to be family men. You want to be a womanizer, that's fine. Just don't be getting in trouble with it. Just guys who aren't pains in the asses, and you're keeping them around because, they're good at football. You got guys who might not be as good as football as some of those pains in the asses, but they're a hell of a lot better to go to work with every day. And I do appreciate that about the 49ers, and it's good to see that they've maintained that amid the culling of the roster this past year. They've never deviated from that. Those are standards and priorities that they have, and I think it has served them very well, and I think it'll serve them well in the future because a lot of teams are willing to take on problem guys, and I think that if you keep doing that repeatedly, as strong as your culture you think you have, and as good as your coaches and as good as eventually it's just going to bite you in the ass to the point where you can't come back from it. One rotten apple can take everything down with them, and there's a reason that the Raiders, I think, have been consistently shitty forever, save for a couple of years, because they're always willing to overlook personal slights for talent. And it kind of gave them a bit of a mystique, and it made them fun when they're good. And it makes you absolutely brutal when you're bad and gives you no chance of winning sometimes. Whereas I think the Niners will maintain a pretty high floor for years to come because they have pros in the building, regardless of if they're 20 or 40, they got pros. And that stuff really matters, I think. And the older I get, the more obvious it is that kind of stuff really, really matters to me. So
it's pro football, man. They don't have time to mess around coaching kids up and getting maturing guys.
100%.
It's like, hey, look, and Shanahan, is smart enough to know. That ain't his game
either.
You can take one guy like that. I mean,
Sure.
If you got one mercurial player that he's a little immature, fine. But you can't. That's got to be the exception, and you got to have a strong room, and they got a strong room. Let's finish up with the D-line.
Yeah.
A couple things stood out to me here. One, Mikael Williams didn't practice this last day, so he must have been nicked up. CJ West,
he was doing something where they were like going through his strides. They were taking video of it, so I think they're trying to reteach him how to do something off of that ankle. I made a call or two, and they're just wanting to make sure that he doesn't overcompensate for the ankle that had, took forever to heal and he kept playing through. They're trying to get that thing 100%. So not ideal, but not a big deal either, from what I can tell.
This team now has Bryce Huff and Mikael Williams. They probably drafted Mikael Williams knowing they were going to have Bryce Huff. Mikael Williams makes more sense if you knew you had Bryce Huff
100%.
Because Mikael Williams can play with Bryce Huff.
Yes.
I don't think Mike Green can play with Bryce Huff. I don't think James Pierce could play with Bryce Huff. Mm-hmm. But Mikael Williams can. And so now you've got a front that's got Huff on third downs off the edge. You got Mikael Williams on first and second down against the run. You got a big body Alfred Collins if he ever gets on the field.
Yeah.
You got Jordan Elliott.
Yep.
But the two guys, there's really three guys that have really opened my eyes in this thing.
Yep.
One is CJ West, who's just
my God,
unbelievable.
The
strike.
Hands.
Yeah, I mean, he's just it's unbelievable. And I asked Kasarik about it, and I said, hey, man, this guy's hands are just ridiculous. I go, have you ever seen hands like this? And he talked about it, and he's like, at the end, he goes, his hands are advanced. Yes, they are advanced. They're weapons is what they are.
He's going to break some of these pads. He's going to explode the pads. By the way, CJ West did not come to camp in shape. I'm just going to throw that out there, right? He's looking doughy. He's looking a little loose. And then he comes out of his set, and he lays the Widowmakers on you. And it does not matter. He's just awesome.
Ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
You hear it from the other field when he does his
standing
sets.
right there. I'm standing right
so
there,
loud.
right? And I'm filming it, and he knocks back the Niner GA, the grad assistant, and this guy's neck goes shooting back, and you see Kasarik's eyes widen, and he's like, good knockback.
He's just killing
so
him.
CJ West and Evan Anderson. Oh my God.
Anderson's hands are much better.
Oh, he's just you can tell he's less doughy, he's stronger, he's way stronger.
He looks like he physically has now taken on the form of like a ball.
He's
but you're
so
right, he's
strong
less
looking.
doughy, and
he's not as like last year he looked like, like a high schooler almost, like a high schooler, like
squish and a little bit of, kind of
like
when he moved,
really
he didn't all come at the same time. There's a little bit of locomotion in there. You get a little,
I
like
mean,
a water bed.
He really was out of shape. He was really out of shape, but he's getting in shape, and the hand strength and the anchor strength, it's off the charts. And him and West were just rocking rocking on these inside moves.
The poor GAs are gonna run out of GAs because they're just not going to have enough that can
Guys are
handle.
calling sick.
I mean, it's like being a sparring partner for a UFC fighter when you're going up against these guys. It is, and Larry, I don't think I've ever noted that kind of strike power with 49ers defensive linemen. Anderson sure as hell didn't have that last year. I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like, what the hell's going on here? And I joked about it. Like, I'm dead serious. When West gets his hands and is going through those drills, and Kocurek is all about in OTAs, keeping your hands high. He wants the hands this year. I was standing on the opposite practice field. I was 65 yards away, and I turned my head because CJ West had just struck the GA. Like, it was so loud that I heard it and noted it while watching something else 65 yards away. And I'm like, what just happened over there? And just started walking. I'm like, I got to see what's happening over there because that's where the football's being played. It was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, but to me, the one guy, now maybe it's just me because I'm that. This is, you're
a sicko, Larry.
I'm the kind of guy that likes, the nobodies.
Are you going to tell me about Sebastian Valdez? Because I got him marked.
Sebastian Valdez.
I got him marked, Larry. You're in good company. There's something there. There's something there with Sebastian Valdez.
Oh, my God. This guy is Montana State to Washington. Played for the Montana State Bobcats.
Yep.
And then finished up for the UW Huskies.
Yeah.
And people missed on this guy. Now, he went to Monta Vista High School in Spring Valley. Now, where's that? That's not the Monta Vista here. That's not the Monta Vista in the Bay. But then he went to Montana State 2021, 2022, 2023, and then finished up 2024. He went undrafted. So, I don't know. The guy's really interesting. As a freshman,
outside of San
he had
Diego.
3 sacks. And then he had 7 sacks as a sophomore. 2023, he had 5 sacks. And then he entered the transfer portal. He was first team All Big Sky at Montana. Mm-hmm. Then transferred to the Huskies. During his one season, he had 49 tackles, 2 sacks, and a pass deflection. He's 6. This is his measurements: 6'3" and 3/8.
Yeah.
301 pounds. Short arms. 31 1/4 arms. Huge hands.
Yes.
10 3/8 inch hands.
He's a weirdly shaped man. Let's be clear about this.
Now they list him here at 5.02 in the 40, which is not very fast.
No.
But 172 10-yard split.
That's fast.
Enough. 27.5-inch vertical, which is not great, but he's 300 pounds.
Yep.
But 34 reps of 225, which would have led the combine.
Short arms, not a lot to lift,
Yeah. The guy can lift. Yeah, short. That's exactly right.
Short arms really helps.
It really helps.
I have people
are
like,
long
what do you
I have
bench?
36-inch arms.
Like, yeah, I got crazy long arms, and it's always been a detriment on my bench press. But don't try me on leg press. I'll clear the entire rack, baby.
Seriously, I mean, I've got 35-inch arms. I did 2 plates today at age 55 for the first time in like 20 years.
Congrats, man. That's a big deal.
And I was like, I was looking around, going, "Did anybody see that?"
Yeah, right.
looking around the gym, waiting for like some applause.
Basement, we get to like rep 10, and I'm like, we might be dying soon.
I'm like, I wasn't working out with one of my sons, so I looked around. I'm like, anybody see that? No, I'm like, nobody saw it. Nobody saw it. It's just me.
The benefits will pay off down the line.
I felt good.
The good Lord saw it, Lair.
But Sebastian Valdez.
There's something there. He stays
There's
low.
Something there, man.
Something there. I would practice squat him, but I'm excited to watch him in the preseason. That guy seems like he's going to be a pain in the ass to block in training camp and in preseason, man. There's something.
There's also a buddy of mine who believes in football face. He's like, if you either do or don't have football face.
Okay.
Here is
Okay.
Sebastian Valdez. You tell me if this is football face. I think
Yeah.
it probably is.
Yeah, that guy's got football face.
That's football face right there.
That's a helmet that's a head that's been scrunched by a helmet his entire life. He's never had the right sized helmet. His face does not fit in the helmet. Yeah, that guy's got football face.
That's football face right there.
I, for one, never had football face. Should be
I
noted.
don't have football face either.
No, I had.
But he has
I had
football
baseball
face. He definitely has football face, and the guy's got 34 reps at 225. So I'm just telling you, in that drill where you got to chase the guy, and then he moves around, then you got to chase him again, then he flips around, you got to chase him again. He's great at that,
He's
and
smooth.
the guys had a couple reps. I mean, you got to watch these things closely. Like, sometimes I wonder if the people watching these practices, do they ever play sports? Did you?
No.
The guys will tell you if it was a good rep if you
Yes.
just listen
They
and
say
if you
it out
watch.
loud. Yes.
And the way they treat each other. If a guy gets embarrassed, this isn't fourth grade tiddlywinks where everybody gets a ribbon. If some guy gets embarrassed, guys look down, they get a drink of water, they look at their shoes. They're not like over there going, "Hey man, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay."
Yeah.
But when guys have a great rep, man, guys will come over and dap them up, and
They get hyped.
They get hyped. They get
The
hyped.
coaches
And
will tell you too, man. The
Sebastian
coaches-
Valdez was getting a lot of slapping skins after his reps,
Yeah.
Dieter.
They
He
like
is
him.
winning on these reps, and I'm eager to see what he looks like when the pads come on. Because this guy didn't play at Little Sisters of the Poor his last year. He played for the Washington Huskies.
It's not like Montana State's a bad FCS program either. Like legitimately one of the better ones. So
But you noticed
I'm just glad that I'm not on an island because I have Sebastian Valdez has a lot of notations next to his name on the old roster, Larry. In fact, it's actually a problematic amount of notations because I don't really have. Well, I got STT, something to watch. I got a couple of positive check marks. That was the last one. Let's see what we got on the other one. This is great radio. And
it's not radio,
yeah,
it's YouTube.
Well, yeah, 3 more check marks. I'm not going to show you the rest of this because there's some derogatory statements made about certain players.
an unnamed scout,
An
Dieter
unnamed
Kurtenbach.
scout. Listen, there are certain guys who, after one practice, I said should be cut, and then guess what? They weren't around the next practice.
That was what I said about. Did you see my tweet the other day about
No,
Nicholas
about
Petit Frere?
Yeah.
I said
I
Nicholas
also-
Petit Frere has a petite future in the Niners. With the Niners,
I just marked out Russell Gage. Just marked him out. Just said, yeah, we don't need to have that there. I didn't see Russell Gage last practice. Should note. Yeah.
what do you think of Bryce Huff?
I
Because some
think
people say Bryce Huff looks small and this and
I'm
that.
saying that he looks really small.
He
He's
is
listed at
small.
6'3", and that I started laughing when I read that. He's 6 foot. They're saying that
He might be 6'1", but I hear you.
maybe. I mean, he's
Yeah.
wearing.
He's
the
not
tall
6'3",
studs.
though.
He's listed at 6'3", and then I'm like, okay, where did he get listed at 6'3"? I can't find any evidence. At some point, he just said he was 6'3", and they just took it.
But he gets
and-
off the ball.
Oh no, I listen, I get it, but I also can kind of see why Vic Fangio is like, let's use him as an outside linebacker because he is not 6'3".
Dude, I thought the most interesting answer I got the entire week was, or I'm not sure if somebody, might not even be my question. I was just standing there when Kasarik said it.
Yeah, I was there for that. Yeah,
When he talked about how the steps
steps.
are different steps in a 2-point outside linebacker rush
Makes total
plan
sense.
than a 3-step or 3-point
Right.
stance, in a wide 9 where you're shooting
Yeah.
up the field. Yeah, I mean it's he made it seem like it's almost night and day, and that
I don't know if it's that much, but it is a big deal for him.
he made it seem like Huff is awesome, didn't lose a step. It just wasn't a scheme fit,
I believe
and
that.
it cost him the whole year.
I get that.
I
And
will
they-
say this: in
yeah.
2024, his
He was
pass rush win rate was 13.9%. That is better than Joey Bosa. So it's not like, people were all like, all fired up about Joey Bosa. Hey, Joey, including
Yeah.
Nick. Bryce Huff has, better pass rush win rate last year than Joey, and it wasn't a great year for Bryce.
It
And
was
in
an
2023, his
exceptionally
pass
short
rush win rate was 22.9%, which was the best in football.
It is an exceptionally shrewd move. I see no downside whatsoever to having Bryce Huff on your football team. If it doesn't work out, you lost nothing. Nothing of note. You're not getting a guy like him in the 5th round, and he doesn't cost you barely anything. By the way, you can afford him because you got nothing but cap space. You're spending almost $100 million on guys who aren't on your team. You can afford to bring one guy in. I thought it was a brilliant move. And frankly, I know you were on it, but I'm a little bit angry that I wasn't on it as early as I should have been, because it was, as you noted, like, we're talking about guys who are overt and obvious and listed on all the top 10 rankings of free agents and, top of the list. This is a guy who you're getting for a song. You're getting cheap. It's a testament to the 49ers front office. They deserve a lot of credit for seeing that move. And Robert Saleh obviously had something to do with it, but for seeing that move and making that move and getting the Eagles to agree to that move, like that's a hell of a deal, because even if this doesn't work out, 100% worth a swing. 100% worth a swing, because the upside is there. And I do buy the whole scheme thing. You're not asking him to do what he did in Philadelphia. You're asking him to do what he did for the Jets, and he was really, really good. If he had missed all of last year because of an injury, that'd be more of a concern for me. And yet most people wouldn't think twice about it. That'd be more of a concern for me than going into the wrong scheme, not maximizing it, still having some success, to be fair, and now coming back to the scheme that works for him. Like, yeah, this is 100% approval from Dieter Kurtenbach on this deal.
I wouldn't have you on if I didn't want to gain some information from you. So let me ask you 3 information questions that I don't know the answers to.
Okay, we'll see if I do.
Gus Bradley's job is what?
Whatever Robert Saleh wants him to do that day, special projects liaison. And then it seems as if he's the shit shooter for the 49ers coaching staff. Kind of like runs the tours. I saw him kind of
runs what?
I saw him working the entire Stanford staff, right? So it was Stanford staff day on Wednesday at OTAs. They had all the Stanford guys out there. John Lynch was happy. Christian McCaffrey was happy. David Lombardi was happy. I picked that day of all days to wear my Cal Bears hoodie, which was funny. Regardless, Gus Bradley was just, oh man, it's so great. Here, if you need anything, like, just kind of hanging out, just kind of making sure. He was like a tour guide at the college for the 49ers. He's just there to, he's there to do what Brandon Staley did last year, except with a lot more cheer. That's as far as I can tell.
Brandon Aiyuk tweeted, and
Sure.
I'm 55. I don't decipher tweets.
Yeah.
And it's like, this guy is doing himself a disservice.
Totally.
He's creating kind of a controversy, and it's like when you were when you're going for your contract, and it's like, okay, it's an emotional time. Now you just seem kind of like a self-absorbed guy. I don't know what his deal is.
He's bored.
What did he say? What did it mean?
Well,
Tell me. Talk to me like I'm a newborn. Explain what transpired with Aiyuk, please.
I can't give you that detail, Larry, because I'm.
You can give it to me.
No.
I promise you can give it to me. I won't give it away.
It has nothing to do with you nor the audience. If I understood, I'd be happy to do it. Here's as far as I can surmise. Brandon Aiyuk is bored because he doesn't have a lot to do outside of rehabbing, and he can't do a lot. And he's on his phone all day. And we live in an era where attention seems to be the only commodity. And because he is out of sight and out of mind, he is trying to find a way to be in mind again and making stuff. He's just trying to get attention. He's just crying out for help. Someone pay attention to him. Someone tell him he's great. And he's going about it in all the wrong ways, as so many of us have on the social media machines, Lair.
What's going to be is there any, come on, help me out here. Is there anything that what should I take from that? Does this mean that his time with the Niners is coming to an end? It's not coming to an end?
No one wants him.
I know that,
They
but
offered
I mean,
him to every team in the NFL, and they all said,
are
"Fuck
they
off."
going to? It seemed. I've heard people blame the Niners and be like, they haven't shown they love them. And it's like, shut up.
Oh,
seriously, shut up. I
well,
can't
first off,
listen to that.
It's June in the NFL. We're making mountains out of molehills here with OTA offensive line stuff.
Cryptic
and
tweets. I don't do
tweets.
cryptic tweets.
No, and he's doing
Especially as I get older. That's as I've noticed that as I've gotten older, my enthusiasm or desire to analyze cryptic tweets drops considerably as you age. It's surprising.
It was never high for me, and it's even lower now.
It's amazing though when you have a mortgage how you can't cryptic tweets from 26-year-old wide receivers don't move you the same way.
Yeah, someone will tell me. Someone will tell me what happened. I'll catch this in a day or two. I got shit to do. I got babies to put to bed. I got dinner to cook. I got a lot of other shit going on.
I got shit going on.
I can't worry about what Brandon Aiyuk's going through right now. I'm sure it's a real big problem. Go cry yourself to sleep on your $30 million a year.
Wouldn't that be awesome if you had him on the radio and be like, hey, bro, I got a lot of S going on right now at the house. So could you just give me the Cliff Notes version of
what is it
the Monarch
want?
Notes of what are you unhappy about? You're making
What's
a
your
lot,
deal?
right? What's going on? Can you explain this to me? What
people aren't.
Please
nice
explain
to
your
you on the
plight to
internet
me.
right now.
I need to know the
better
plight of the
vibes.
receiver.
Yeah. Here's what needs to happen. He needs to get onto a field and be the old Brandon Aiyuk again, and then everyone will be like, wow, he's so great. That wasn't a bad contract at all. And the team will be like, we're so happy he's here. Maybe we can trade him. But like all these things, that's what he needs. But he's not getting the external gratification that he's been getting throughout his entire life, and I kind of feel for the guy. If you're injured and you feel like a shell of your former self, as I can only imagine you do, and you don't have a working knee, and you're a professional athlete, I'm sure you're going through some stuff. But don't put that out in public. That would be my advice. Don't put it out in public. I got a lot of shit going on. I try not to put it out in public.
When's he coming back? Let's cut to the chase. What week is he back? I'm saying Thanksgiving.
That was exactly where my head was at. Let me give you a more specific date.
It's because you're hungry.
Ain't that the goddamn truth, Larry? I got shit going on. Let me give you...
I love Thanksgiving, man. Thanksgiving is the best.
I'm so happy that they don't have any like holiday games on the schedule this year. That really sucks.
I know, because seriously, when you have a family, it's like, bye everybody. I'm going to the Niner game. You feel like a jackass.
I went to the 49ers and Ravens on Christmas.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Glad I did that.
I saw you more than I saw my kids.
Exactly.
That's not
right.
the way it should be, and that's not the way it should be.
Give me Week 10 against the Rams. Week 10 against the Rams. That's November 9th. A little earlier than Thanksgiving. Give me that game against the Rams.
Week 10. That's Gabe Davis left Pittsburgh without a contract. He left San Francisco without a contract. A lot of people have said, go get Keenan Allen, go get Amari Cooper, go get this guy, go get that guy. I've said, go get Malachi Corley is the name I like, just because it's just he's younger, cheaper, and you can cut him easier if you had to. Do the Niners, you just saw OTAs. What's your plan? How do you want to play your hand? You want to go for a veteran that can replace Aiyuk on the outside, like a Keenan Allen? You want to do my idea and go for a Corley for a 7th round pick, or to replace Debo? Or do you want to just say, you know what? No, let's go with Watkins and Cowing, and let's give Isaiah Nair a freaking real shot.
Well, I don't know about that one.
I know that would be wild, but I will say this. That kid had another play on the practice field the other day where he dove and didn't get it, but it was like, look at that. That kid is a specimen. And he's not like a specimen that just looks gawky or weird when he's running. He looks like a star. He just hasn't we know he's not because we know he's not, but I mean it's like he looks like a star.
He'll get a lot of opportunities for the rest of his career.
Yes.
He ain't it though. He's just
you don't think so? You're pretty convinced.
No.
All right. Well,
listen.
I'm a dreamer. Let me dream.
And I appreciate that about you, Lair. But like, there were some wide receivers.
It is a wild dream.
Were some real horseshit wide receivers, and they got drafted because they had physical traits. This guy's got all the physical traits, and they didn't draft him, and he's coming out of Nebraska. Like,
here's the other idea.
Catch. It's kind of an issue.
The other name that I like. I don't know if I like any of those old guys.
Okay.
But I really think it's highly likely that Green Bay is going to trade Romeo Doubs, and I'm going to be there to get him.
Good luck with that. I don't think they'd possibly trade. They know that's a mistake, so they're definitely not trading him to the 49ers.
I think they might cut him.
That's stupid. You should definitely sign him then. That's an all-time rebound.
I'll say this. He gets traded this summer for what we both go, what? That's all they paid? I don't think they're getting like a third or fourth round pick. I think they're getting like a sixth round pick.
I mean, I'll give him the third or fourth round pick.
I don't know about third, but definitely fourth or fifth. Romeo Dobbs, I think,
He's
in this
awesome.
offense would be really good.
I mean, he's no Bo Melton, but
I like Bo Melton.
I
mean,
love Bo Melton.
one of those. Let's just say this. That's a great name. I'm glad you mentioned it. One of those guys probably gets cut.
I want whatever the Packers are cutting at wide receiver, because I think the guys that they have in the building are better than the two guys they're bringing in. I'm not a Matthew Golden fan. Forget the other guy they drafted. But
Xavier Williams.
Xavier Williams.
He's
Interesting.
a beast.
He's fun. He's fun.
He's
that
fun.
could work.
He might be the most fun film.
They said that about
watch.
Malachi Corley too. Just saying. It's
true.
I'm not a
It's
Malachi
true.
Corley guy. And now we're talking about picking him up for a seventh. I thought it was interesting at OTAs. They kept using Demarcus Robinson at Z.
He looked
and
good.
He did, unquestionably. And they had Juwan Jennings specifically at X. I think that they're betting on Cowing. I think that that's their
He
plan.
looked great.
Where Cowing is going to be the slot guy if they go to an 11. But the other thing I think should be noted is that I think this team is going to run a lot of 12 personnel. I think that they're going to be two tight ends a lot this upcoming
I've heard
season.
you say that. I heard you say that the other day on KMBR.
Yeah.
I do think you're right, because I think there's going to be times where they're going to want to get Kittle in the pattern, and yet they're going to want to use Farrell. And if there's one thing that I think I've kind of been won over on, I think Farrell definitely has some upside as a run blocker.
Yep.
He might be better than Charlie Warner, according to some that I've talked to. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I gotta see him a little bit, but yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that.
They wanted to do it last year, and then they realized they had a dog shit tight end room.
What's the story going to
Saubert.
be? What's the story going to be if Brock Purdy is way better this year without Aiyuk and Debo, with Cowing and Watkins and these other guys?
I'm sure.
What will
find a
people
way to-
say at that point? Because we've
never
seen
gonna give
Brock
up.
Purdy throw with accuracy, but those guys are covered. And these guys might be able to free themselves up, and it'll be interesting to see if Brock can hit open receivers.
Yeah. Never had to do it yet.
Never had to do it.
No one's going to give up the Brock Purdy hate. It's too deep in the
It's
cottage
too
industry at
tantalizing.
this point, and they'll just say that it's all Kyle and that Brock has nothing to do with it, even though it's kind of not. It's kind of the opposite, but they'll never give it to him. He's Russell Wilson 2.0. He'll never get the credit. He'll get all the blame, and at some point he'll deserve the blame, but that ain't today.
Bold prediction. Give me one bold prediction. Bold prediction. I'll go first.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to be bold.
Tanner Mordecai is going to beat out Mac Jones.
That is a bold prediction.
Now,
That is very
I don't know that he's going to get the job, but we are going to watch
He can scoot.
Tanner Mordecai beat out Mac Jones, because Tanner Mordecai had a run in this game, in this practice the other day.
He was sick.
He's flying.
He does not.
Flying.
He cannot throw the ball and run though.
4.4 speed. Legit 4.4 speed. He knows the offense. He had several good passes. Several. He's got probably the best arm strength of the guys they got. I didn't see Rourke, but of the three guys they got, he's got the most zip.
He's got a lot of rip.
And he knows the offense.
Yeah.
I think Tanner Mordecai and Mac Jones, I think he's gonna do some good things, but I think Mac Jones is gonna be number 2, but there's gonna be a lot of people knowing that Mordecai's better, and that's gonna be a question that Shanahan's not gonna want to talk about as we get further into camp. It's gonna be like, I'm not really sure. We'll have to see.
Yeah.
But we know Mac was brought here to be the number 2, but I think it's Tanner Mordecai.
Top 5 offensive line.
Whoa! Now that's bold.
Trent Williams plays, they got a real shot at having a great offensive line, particularly in the run game. I'm taking Christian McCaffrey in the first round of fantasy drafts. Let's put it that way. I think this offensive line, with the depth that they have and the very high floor, Trent Williams obviously sets the ceiling, and he looks fresh and ready and kind of mean. And I think that in a league where offensive lines 2 through 20 are almost indistinguishable, at the end of this bad boy, they might be able to run the ball so well and do just enough in pass pro that it will be considered a top 5 offensive line. I'm in. I see the vision. I see the light. That's my bold prediction.
That's bold.
It is very bold.
Also, this.
It's also tricky because the other 2 bold predictions are that Sebastian Valdez beats out Kalia Davis for a defensive tackle job on the 53-man roster. And then the other one is that they run a shit ton of 12 personnel and that they go away from 21, and that Kyle Juszczyk is kind of a non-important player on this offense, and instead it's a lot of Luke Farrell, and George Kittle is used effectively as a wide receiver a lot of the year. But we already talked about those, so it's not really that bold because we've already normalized it.
I'm going to give you another bold one.
Do it.
And it's more of a fantasy bold, but it's like,
no, it's great.
Because of fantasy, this is going to be the guy that people not from San Francisco are going to be like, hey, how about that guy?
Yeah.
Isaac Guerendo.
Yeah.
Isaac Guerendo is just, I don't know how they're going to use him, but he's going to get more touches. He looks awesome.
He's unbelievable.
Sometimes I look at him and I'm like, what the heck?
Larry, it's not
Where
great
did
that
this
he's
guy
bigger
come
than
from?
all of it's not
like,
great that he's bigger than all of their linebackers save for Fred. It's not great.
But he's such a superstar runner. I don't know that I've seen a guy that fast with a souped up engine like that. He's like a drag racer. He is going to be damn good. I think Cowing's going to be good. I think Watkins is going to be good. But I think Guerendo is going to be, and it's going to be really interesting, Dieter, because I don't, you and I watch a lot of film and we talk a lot of football. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like.
Not a chance. Yeah. He might
no idea what it's
going to
look like. He's going to hand it to him. They can throw it to him. Right. I don't know.
He'd be cool on a swing pass. I think it'll be interesting to see if Kyle, and this might not even be something that shows up for a month, but it'll be interesting to see if Kyle calls plays for him and how that is utilized. Because you could do, and this is something that the Packers did a lot last year with that kind of spin play action or read. It was more of a zone read where Jordan Love would do like a full pirouette before handing it off. And they would motion guys into the backfield from the wide receiver position, and then they'd have 2 backs. And you saw Kyle actually rip it off halfway through the year. Guerendo and Christian McCaffrey in a 2-back backfield where you start one of them in the slot and motion them in, or the opposite, that's some diabolical shit, man. That is the kind of stuff that I'm into. That's the kind of deep sadistic offense that I want to watch, where you start Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo as slot receivers. You start Jacob Cowing in the backfield, and you just have them switch places. And what the fuck are you supposed to do if you're a linebacker or safety when that happens? That's the kind of stuff I'm into, and I hope that it happens. Not sure it will, but I hope it does. That's fun.
I asked Bobby T about Corey Kiner, and he's just like, the contact balance.
I get it. He's a weeble. I'm not sure how you knock him down.
Yeah, Corey Kiner's got contact balance. And to hear Bobby say it,
he'll run into a lot of contact because he is slow as shit.
Yeah, he's not fast.
but he's going to be fun in the preseason when he just like stumbles for 125 yards in the second half against the Raiders or something. Like, that's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot of column inches written on Kiner in the preseason. Is he the next thing? No, but he'll be fun to watch.
There's going to be a lot of people asking you about Guerendo. All right, and last thought on the way out the door. Yeah. We have this one. I'm going to share the screen on this. hold on a second. We've got a little article here on 5 blockbuster trade targets that could transform the Giants.
Someone ripped off my 4 trade targets from last week.
Oh, who'd you have?
Reese Hoskins, obvious one.
Love it.
Fuck, maybe I'll just pull it up. You read off those.
Okay.
We'll see what the crossover
All right, here we go.
is.
Ryan O'Hearn.
Yeah, I get it.
Giants need his first base. Ryan O'Hearn. Now, Dominic Smith did have a good day today.
Well, I find it hilarious that Buster's first crisis, he's like, what if we went full Farhan and brought in Dom Smith and just shuffled the roster for the sake of shuffling the roster? I think he did a good job. I think they're fine. I think the ship is righted, but he did go full Farhan on Tuesday night.
It's so funny because I streamed with Marty over the weekend, and
God
he's like,
bless you.
they're not hitting. What do we do? What do they do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what do they do? DFA Lamont Wade.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, they can't do that. I'm like, well,
Why not?
Then what? Why? What are we even talking about? If you can't, why? Why can you not DFA some marginal guy that you didn't develop, you don't pay, and nobody cares about? I mean, this is where Giants fans get to be a little too. It's a little too Giantsy.
They just want their hand held and told everything's A-okay.
It's a little too Giantsy, though. The Giants people are a little too Giantsy. It's like, do you not do? I mean, I'm not saying Marty doesn't know baseball. Marty knows baseball, but
Marty knows more baseball than I'll ever know.
Yeah, Marty knows ball. It's not about that. It's just about
a little precious.
Oh, we can't get rid of Lamont. He's late night Lamont. Get the hell out of here. Yeah. You 1 home run.
Notice how
cannot
everyone's knocking the Giants' door down to go get him. By the way, the next guy on this list, Brandon Lowe, on my list.
Brandon, is it Lowe? Lau?
I don't care. It's one or the other.
I think it's
Dude mashes.
What do you think?
Dude mashes righties because he's a left-handed hitting second baseman, and him and Tyler Fitzgerald in a platoon would be fantastic. Again, totally hilarious that the Giants are now just going full Farhan and we're going to embrace platoons after 2 months of let's just have these guys up there who can't hit the same-handed guys. Let's just force feed them. Maybe they'll figure it out on the fly. And now they're like, we're all platoons all the time, baby. Let's do this thing. Lean into it. Get Brandon Lowe. Who gives a shit?
Brandon Lowe. Okay, then you got Brent Rooker. I don't know why the A's are trading Brent Rooker.
So this is an immediately disqualifying thing. The A's just signed him to a massive deal. He's still
5
very
years,
good.
$60 million contract. They just signed it.
Just signed. What the hell is this guy doing? Bad article. Disqualifying.
They're not trading Brent Rooker.
They're not trading Brent Rooker. What the hell are you talking about?
Now this guy could be traded, Ryan McMahon, and I kind of like this idea. This guy, can play second. He can play third. He can hit. He needs a change of scenery, man. This guy badly needs a change of scenery, and he probably wouldn't cost you anything.
He wouldn't cost you anything. That's the most important part.
Right. And
people say he can hit. He doesn't hit at Coors Field. What's he going to do at Oracle Park?
I don't know. There's something stale about the whole thing. Don't you think McMahon, if he went somewhere else, might be able to light it up a little bit? There's something.
Listen, and you're just asking for 2 or 3 months of it, so it's not a big deal. I also had Yandy Diaz. Yandy Diaz doesn't strike out. Just absolutely hits 114 miles per hour right into the dirt. It's a very special kind of hitter. Where no one hits the ball harder and no one hits it lower. Not sure that's an ideal situation, but if Yandy Diaz is cheap, go for it. The other guy, and he's starting to get hot right now, that wasn't on this list, is Bo Bichette. And if I'm Bo Bichette, I was a viable MVP candidate a couple of years ago. I've been absolute horseshit for the last 2 years. I'm starting to turn it around a little bit here, but he's a free agent. Toronto said they're not going to pay him because he's been horseshit the last 2 years. And you're a shortstop. It's a really deep shortstop situation in Major League Baseball right now, save for what the Giants have going on. And if I'm Bo Bichette, I might want to start telling teams right now, hey, I can play second. And I might want to have some evidence that I can play second, so at least they don't have to, teams that already have their shortstop, as so many, 22 of them do, and, 8 of the other teams don't give any money out. I'm not having to scrounge, be able to sell myself on being a shortstop now, on a second baseman now, and you can make an upgrade over Tyler Fitzgerald, who's been fine but unspectacular. You can upgrade with Bo Bichette today and ride that wave. Maybe you can keep him around, keep him as your full-time second baseman, or maybe he's just here for a good time, not for a long time, and he goes and he gets a good deal somewhere else, he's able to make himself some money. But I think trying to get Bo Bichette today as your second baseman, even though he's a shortstop, is good for Bo and good for the Giants. So surprised that no one else has seemed to have this idea. Maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know.
All right. Can I throw out my wild idea?
Lay it on me.
All right. It's a little bit of a wild idea.
Okay. Well,
But
I know
the
standard,
Giants,
so this is gonna be good.
the Giants are kind of boring. And they need some offense, and they have nobody who anybody wants to see. And you know, what do you think of trading for Mike Trout?
I got no problem
Now,
with it.
You have no problem with it, or have a big
No problem at all.
Well,
Go
let me
ahead.
just lay it out there. He signed a 12-year deal for $426.3 million. It goes through 2030. It's 2019 through 2030. 19 he made $16 million. 20 he made $30 million. 21 through 30 he makes $35.4 million. He's got a full no trade clause. He's got some perks, suite on the road, luxury suite for 20 home games, season tickets, all this crap.
He's got a sweet situation. Yeah.
He's making $35.4 a year every year between now and 2030.
Yep.
After this year's over, so going forward, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30, which will be his age 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38 seasons. Okay. The Angels owe him $177 million. Okay.
How much are they holding on?
35.4 a year. What's that?
No, I'm saying, okay, so you're making this deal.
So this is what I'm saying. The Giants should offer the Angels volume in prospects, but not premier prospects, but be willing to take on the $177 million.
Take on
that's what. Well, how about this is my offer. I'm going to offer you some prospects. You can take the Angels can pay $5.4 million a year for the rest of that contract, and we'll take on 150 instead. Mm-hmm. Or if you want us to take on the 177, I want Christian Moore, your second baseman prospect, who's you just drafted, who's a hitter.
I think went to Tennessee. Eat it. They can sell season tickets off the guy. I think they would rather eat it. Here's what I would do. So then
here's the prospect list.
Okay, go ahead.
This is what I'm trading. This is what I'm offering you. And granted, I'm conjuring this deal out of 1978 Vita Blue, right? Okay. Why? The Giants were totally dead in the 70s. They were boring as hell. Nobody cared. The A's had this player. The Giants said, here's 7 players. None of them are great. And the Giants got Vita Blue. He won 18 games. He rejuvenated baseball in San Francisco in 78. It was the best summer in roughly 10 years, and it was a big win for the Giants and jump-started the team. And freed Vita from that nightmare that Charlie Finley had going across the bay. So this is what I would offer. Mike Trout to the Giants. And they could throw us a Kyle Hendricks, I guess, if they wanted. Another arm. Giants go Marco Luciano, Grant McCray.
Okay.
And then pitching. Keaton Wynn, Carson Seymour, Jim Whitman, or Joe Whitman would be like the highest rated guy. Jordan Hicks, Tristan Beck, all of them. Five starters and a couple bats. And if you had to throw in like a Reggie Crawford, another guy who's kind of a two-way guy, now I think is just a pitcher maybe, or is just a hitter.
Just a hitter.
If you wanted to throw in one more, you could throw in one more. But give them 7 or 8 prospects, but not Wisenhunt, not Eldridge. You're not giving top-tier prospects, but you're taking almost somewhere between $150 and $175 million of financial money off of the Angels. For the twilight years of Trout. You can stick Trout and right. You can market Trout.
Right.
If you could make the money work where you could get a good prospect along with it, I think that would incentivize the Giants to maybe take on some money. But Angels don't have a very good farm system.
How about this? Are you willing to give up on Kyle Harrison?
I mean, not for nothing. I mean, I see a really, really dominant lefty reliever who could be a great lefty reliever in the playoffs.
Sure. I don't disagree.
I see
with
Kevin Rogers. Like the Giants used to have a lefty in the 90s named
Yeah,
Kevin
I like
Rogers who
Kevin
threw
Rogers, yeah.
mid-90s and had a
I think
nasty
that he can be-
nasty
I
stuff.
think-
He had the same arm angle. It's really nasty.
But I don't think he's going to be a viable starter. I don't think he's turning.
No, he's not a
San
no,
Francisco's
he's not a
Brian
starter.
Wu. Well, then they're going to keep trying him. I say let the Angels try it. I say you still have some value there. The velo's back up. I say you sell high on Kyle Harrison today, and you try to make him the centerpiece of a Trout trade, where you do include a bat or two. All the names that you listed previously are fair by me. Because if you're taking on the full brunt of cost, you're not getting the big-time prospects back either, which is, this is where it comes, push comes to shove. The Angels are still trying to make some money, and pretty hard to make money with the other guys they have on their roster, even though Zach Nieto is awesome and, Joe Adell's coming around. Like, kind of hard to sell the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim without 27. Even though 27's barely playing over the last couple of years. So I think he's worth more to them than we give them credit for, in the sense of, what they can market him with and selling tickets and keeping season ticket holders, which shouldn't be happy people. And I do think you're going to have to give up something. And I think that I'm willing to go up to Kyle Harrison, but no higher. And if that's
that would be a lot. But you're taking on a ton of money, though, Dieter.
I don't think I can't give.
It's a lot of money.
So, but
it's a lot of money to be really giving away good players. I know what you're saying, but
you're proffering. I don't want to give up the volume. The Giants don't have enough good prospects. I don't want to be.
I don't know if I like. I mean, at the end of the day, none of those guys are going to do anything in the bigs. I mean,
Probably
maybe
not.
A couple of them. I mean, but I doubt it.
Harrison and Luciano for Trout, and they hold on to $10 million a year. That's a deal.
Yeah, that's a deal. Now you're getting a guy for $25 million as opposed to,
they're getting
million.
The Giants' second best bat and arguably their second best pitching prospect. Arguably, you can maybe make the case he's the fifth, but now we got something there, and I feel fine moving off of those guys because they're kind of quadruple A players for you, and they might be better for the Angels. Different set of eyeballs. Hope it works out for both of them, but it doesn't seem to work out for them with the San Francisco Giants. You move on. You get Mike Trout for 112 games a year, and you're a better team for that in the 112, and you're going to be able to sell 162 a lot easier because you got Mike fucking Trout now. And everyone knows Mike Trout's name, even though no one knows anybody in baseball. Everyone knows who Mike Trout is. They're selling Yaz right now.
I've got the ultimate dilemma question on the way out the door, but here's four quick supers. Joseph Ehrenberg, excited for our new midget player, Bryce Huff.
Can I quickly
Ehrenberg,
ask?
I love the negativity.
I mentioned that Bryce Huff is short and then made several jokes about it on my stream yesterday. Clearly someone else has brought this up too, because I don't have this kind of reach to now.
Grant said it.
Okay, so here's what happened.
When Grant says it, the world hears it.
I figured as much. So what happened was,
it's a force of nature.
So
I heard him say it.
Yeah, Bryce Huff is working out on that far end zone sideline area. I'm walking over to go watch the defensive lineman. Grant is coming in the other direction. Grant is standing next to Bryce Huff. I know how tall Grant is. I look at Grant as Grant passes, and I go, short, right? And he goes, so short. And that's how we have this problem today.
Yeah. I would say 6'1". Joseph Ehrenberg, excited. Oh, there you go. Lander Film.
I know. That's Josh Lander. I'm giving you $10.
Is it?
I guess so.
How is Josh? Thanks for the great content. It's so much better than watching those KMBR live streams that look like hostage videos. What is the weakest part of the Niners game on? What is the weakest part of the 49ers game on day one? Ooh,
it's still run defense.
You think it's run defense? I would say
Until proven otherwise.
I'm going to say third down defense. I think they're going to have a hard time. They're going to have a hard time between pass rush and coverage of getting off the field on third downs.
I got some real concerns about linebacker. We'll see. Long way to go. Haven't really gotten any data yet, but when you have questions at safety and linebacker, don't love where that defense is, but a long way to go and a lot to figure out.
Batman 29. Why did the Niners do less play action last year? That's a great question. Why do you think, Dieter? They were under center less. They did a
lot of
whole
it- a
lot
lot
less
of it-
play action. Why?
Yeah. A lot
Was
of
it
it has to do with who was
injury?
in the backfield. Very difficult to run viable play action when you have Jordan Mason, who couldn't pass block and wasn't a viable receiver out of the backfield. So it's not much of a threat. You just commit totally to the run. So I think a lot of that had to do with Jordan Mason being the guy. And ultimately then they're playing from behind quite a bit. And I do think it was a bit of a zag when everyone else was zigging in the league to the Kyle Shanahan offense as we know it. And they kind of went back to a more classic thing because they needed to give their wide receivers every advantage they could, and they needed to give Brock Purdy as long of a look at those receivers as they could, and him turning his back in play action under, an under center snap, which is the classic, like that puts Purdy at a significant disadvantage with the pressure rate that he was seeing with a running back that isn't a viable threat there. And doing some of the shotgun stuff in play action is just sort of a window dressing. It's fake hustle. So I think that's why they did it. I was shocked that it was that low of a rate, though, when I looked that up today. So something to keep an eye on.
Say Wen says, just want to say, amigo, I'm a big fan of your show. The content you put out is top notch. I also think Nick Martin is going to be a beast. Any word on Collins and his injury? Is he on track for camp? I'll say this about Collins. He played all the games at Texas. As soon as I saw him in his highlight reel, I thought, I'm concerned about his ability to stay healthy because he's a long-legged guy, and it seems like he's going to have a hard time keeping guys off his legs. Now, that being said, when I stood next to him on the practice field, the guy does have long legs, but they're long oak trees. I mean, they're really, really thick. So I think he'll be fine. What do you know about Collins' injuries? How concerned are you that he's not been able to get on the field? They haven't really gotten any field work done with Alfred.
Yeah, it's concerning in that he's not getting early reps and that he doesn't have on-field coaching, which is valuable, very valuable for a rookie, but no one said anything regarding him not being ready for training camp. That said, haven't heard one way or another. So the fact that no one's saying anything might also, be them covering it up. It's a concern until he shows up and can be on the practice field for 5 straight days, right? And the next time he'll get a chance to do that is training camp. So we'll find out in July.
On the way out the door, my bold prediction was Tanner Mordecai beats out Mac Jones. Right? So let's just say, for the sake of the discussion, that happens, and Tanner Mordecai beats out Mac Jones. What exactly happens then? I bring this up because there's an interesting article out today that the Colts are predicted to cut ties with Anthony Richardson.
Oh, really? They're going for it. Who said that?
Well, this is the article. I'll read it to you. It's Billy
Larry,
Hayden.
you're the
I don't know
only
if Billy
person I know who uses MSN. Just throw
I
it out.
know. Well, it's sporting news. It's sporting news.
Sure.
It's they grabbed it from the sporting news.
Yeah.
I'll use it from anybody. But anyway, the Colts signed Daniel Jones.
Right.
They have Anthony Richardson. He had a terrible year last year. Colts
Unquestionable.
coach Shane Steichen told reporters he wants Anthony Richardson back at some point during training camp. That's all pretty rough. Richardson was already a 47% passer in 2024. An injury to his throwing arm in the lead up to a new season can't be helpful.
Nope.
So he's got an injury to his throwing arm. It just doesn't look like it's coming together for him.
No.
What would you say if, by chance, they get to camp this summer and Tanner Mordecai beats out Mac Jones?
Mm-hmm.
And now you got to have angry Mac Jones as your third quarterback. Or wait a second, Shane Steichen just called, and they're willing to trade you Anthony Richardson for Mac Jones based on what they saw in the preseason. And now you can make Tanner Mordecai your number 2 quarterback, and you can develop or try to develop Anthony Richardson, who's 6'4", 245 pounds, and runs 4.4, and also has played the position of quarterback pretty poorly to this point.
Yeah.
But you know what? If Mordecai if I'm right and Mordecai beats out Mac Jones, I could see the 49ers taking that call from Chris Ballard, who's very close with John Lynch.
Yeah.
And I could see the Colts saying, we'll take Mac Jones to back up Daniel Jones, and we'll give you Anthony Richardson. Would you make that trade if you were the 49ers and have, I don't know, maybe Richardson to develop, or if you don't think he's anything, maybe you develop him as a goal line guy. Maybe he's a running back, maybe, or would you rather stick with Mac Jones?
You got all these plays that Kyle Shanahan thought up for Trey Lance that he never got to use, so of course you make that trade.
But Trey Lance wasn't this big or fast or with this kind of arm. This guy is what this is the guy that you wanted in Trey Lance. You wanted a guy who was big and strong and fast with a huge arm for specialty stuff. Now you have Brock Purdy. You have Tanner Mordecai, who I think is probably pretty good. But why not have a guy, Anthony Richardson? If you're going to your third string quarterback, you're screwed anyway. I want to see Anthony Richardson run around and try to make plays more than I want to see Mac Jones, incomplete passes and staring and stoic and.
I mean, you do have the issue of you'd be paying, I think, about $5.3 million next year for your third string quarterback, which is less than ideal.
For Richardson, is that what he makes? Or if they cut 10, him, isn't he?
But if he's cut, that's a different thing.
Yeah, if they cut him. What if they cut him? Well, this would be a trade. This would be a trade.
If this is a trade, then you get him for 3.8 this year, off of 9 on the cap, but it'd be 3.8 because the Colts have to eat 5.4 of that.
Couldn't you rewrite it at the end of the year or something?
I'm sure you could.
That's just an idea.
And then you're paying 5.3 next year off of what was originally. The Colts are paying 10.8 off of Richardson for next year. So, listen, I'll say this.
What do you think? Would you do it?
I would do it. Yeah. Why not? You know what you have in Mac Jones. You might as well get weird with it, especially if, on the premise that, Tanner Mordecai beat him out. If Tanner Mordecai beats him out, I don't know why anyone else would want him, by the way. They'd be asking for Tanner Mordecai. But
well, let's just say this. You know the way these things work. Let's say Mac plays pretty well. But let's say Tanner Mordecai plays really well. And I wouldn't – if you said to me what's going to happen, I would say, Mac's going to play pretty well, and I think Tanner Mordecai is going to play really well. And then people are going to be like, hey, Tanner Mordecai's better. And then I think the Colts are probably going to call and say, hey, we'll take Mac Jones. Aren't too many NFL quarterbacks out there who are young and starters and not, problems and this and that. And I could see Steichen saying, hey, we'll give you a dream on Richardson for a little bit more certainty in Mac Jones. I'm just saying, if the Niners had that opportunity – I would take that opportunity and see if Kyle Shanahan, you want to see if you can develop somebody? Let's see if you can develop Anthony Richardson. Why not?
I'm with you. I mean, that would be a fun test.
It would be fun.
I don't think Kyle's too interested in projects right now. I think they got enough projects going on. By the way, they have Riley Leonard and Jason Bean on the team as well in Indianapolis. They're insulated with heady white guys.
I like Riley Leonard. You know me, I'm a Riley Leonard head.
You should ask for him back.
Yeah, seriously. That you want Mac Jones? I want Riley Leonard.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Dieter, tell people where they can find you, when you're going to appear next. When are you on the leader next?
I'm on next Thursday. I was just on the leader. So
you're just on tonight.
Congratulations. More people listened and saw me here, for sure.
You sure about that? But also, we have minicamp next week too. So we have
That's right.
Is there going to be media? Are we going to be able to go to minicamp?
I was told that the 10th and the 11th will be good to go.
Good. Okay.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Love a good minicamp. Better than OTAs. I mean, come on, that's tiddlywinks compared to minicamp. But
especially since it's mandatory.
I have no idea what the difference is, other than the mandatory aspect. I'm not sure if they're not going to be in pads. As far as I can tell. Regardless, I'll be on KMBR next Thursday, and you can catch me all the time at the San Jose Mercury News, where I'm a columnist, ostensibly. And
what's hilarious? I heard somebody call 95.7 The Game, and it was like they started talking.
A couple of people have brought this up to me.
This guy called in. He's like, I want to talk about this article that I read. And they're like, yeah, we'd love to. Yeah, it was written by Dieter Kurtenbach of which obviously people who don't know. Dieter works for a rival radio station. Yeah. And immediately it was like somebody farted in church, and it was just like,
Third rail.
Ooh.
They could have had me there, and
That's
they
awesome.
wouldn't have had that problem. But here we are. And, Dieter and Hutchpod, we're going to be getting real weird with it real fast. Because
Awesome.
it's June, and I'm gone all of July. So we're going to have to get some stuff on the
Where are
in the
you off
can.
to in July?
I am
Travel?
off to, Boston, Scotland, and Croatia with
Nice.
with a 4-month-old and a 2.5-year-old because I'm a fucking idiot.
So you won't be there for camp, or you will be back in time for camp.
It's going to be tricky because my pat leave will go until like mid-August, but that doesn't mean I can't go to work. I just can't write. So I might be bringing a baby to training camp because I'm that committed to the bit, legitimately.
That's awesome. Well, Dieter, baby goes to camp. That will be
Baby
an
goes to
incredible.
camp.
Baby
Yeah.
goes to camp. It'd be an amazing story.
Yeah.
All right, for Dieter, I'm Larry. Thanks to Mancini's. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Dieter. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at 9. Peace.
Yeah, never met a